Cameron Dukes and the Argos hope to snap their two-game slide against the defending champs. A thrilling comeback victory for the Alouettes. They're looking to remain undefeated on the season and start 6-0 for the first time since 2006.
The last time a Canadian receiver led the CFL in receiving was 2010, Andy Fantuz. There are a couple of possibilities now, but this man has to be the favorite. He's having a monster year.
That's Cam Dukes. Is that me? Am I talking about this guy? I'll tell you what. This guy has to make some plays tonight with his legs to make it happen. He's playing against a really tough defense. I think he has the athletic ability to make it happen.
Leading the list of East Division MOP candidates, Cody Fajardo rose into tonight's matchup on a 13-game win streak and has led this Montreal offense to a touchdown 1 out of every 4
26% of the time. 26%, JB.
Thanks to his 84-yard punt return touchdown last week, Janarian Grant moved back into the CFL lead with an average return of over 16 yards. What kind of magic does he have in store for us tonight? It is Thursday Night Football on TSN. Jim Barker, Davis Sanchez, Milt Stiegel. Guess what, Milt Stiegel? You know what you missed out on last week when you were on vacation?
What did I miss out on?
French fries.
Oh,
yeah, they brought us
New York fries.
New York fries. It's Thursday Night Football.
I saw you guys eating them. I saw
We
it.
saved you some. You can eat them at the 3-minute warning. I'm sure they're still delicious. All right, we'll chat with the panel in just a moment. But first, let's go to Montreal and join our Kenzie Lalonde. And Kenzie, it was a thrilling comeback victory for the Montreal Alouettes, but it came at a cost. What is the latest on the injuries in Montreal?
Yeah, so for today's game, Marc-Antoine Dequoy will not be playing for the Montreal Alouettes. He hurt his right shoulder in that game last week against Calgary, and he didn't return. And so we look at the adjustments the Montreal Alouettes will make here, and it'll be Bryce Cosby that's going to drop back in that safety role to fill out where Dequoy usually is. Najee Murray will remain as the field half, and Wall will be the strong side linebacker. Canton Arku will get back in some reps. So that seems to be the game plan here for the Alouettes to move forward, but we know this Noel Thor defense, he can get creative as the game goes on. And so the Toronto Argonauts are going to look to bounce back. They're on a 2-game skid right now. Cameron Dukes saying this week, there's no better time really, though, to face adversity than early in the season. So the Alouettes will look to now continue their win streak. And let's not forget the Montreal Alouettes were 6-7 last year, one before they went on to win the Grey Cup. The Argonauts looking to take advantage of this injured Alouettes team, and also one that's on a short week.
Yeah, the Alouettes could certainly use that bye week right about now. That, of course, coming their way soon. But first, let's talk about the Toronto Argonauts. And Cameron Dukes had a great start to the season. We all know it. He had 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the first 2 games. Flip those numbers the last 2 games. 0 TDs, 5 interceptions. And then really interesting that Ryan Dinwiddie mentioned Chad Kelly, and that when he comes back, he will be the starter. Milt, when you hear something like that, does that help or hurt Dukes at this point?
I think it hinders him. I mean, why is Ryan Dinwiddie thinking that far ahead? You know, your team is struggling right now. You need to keep yourself in the moment. Another thing is, if they were 4-0 and Cameron Dukes was killing it, would he say that? I don't think so. So I love Ryan Dinwiddie. He's my good friend of mine, but I do not agree with that statement right there. It does nothing for his young quarterback.
Because you're worried about it attacking his confidence?
Yes, big time.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, because this is a huge game for Cameron Dukes. I mean, he starts off, and Ryan Dinwiddie had him just being a game manager. He didn't have to produce in big ways. The other night against Saskatchewan, they're in a tie ball game going in the fourth quarter, and he needed to produce and probably tried to do more than he could. Now, did that attack his confidence and then Ryan attack it more? I don't know, Ches. You know.
Yeah. I looked at it as, first of all, let's get back to this. We didn't get a chance to talk about this. When Ryan Dinwiddie pulled him out of the game with 3 minutes left, they were down by 10. The game was still in the balance. Yes. Yeah. That made no sense to me. We didn't get a chance to talk about it after the game. Why would you do that? You didn't have a better chance to win at that point with Nick Arbuckle. No chance. He hadn't touched the ball in a year. But I didn't like that decision. And in regards to saying it, who cares if he says when Chad comes back, Chad's going to be the guy? Chad is going to be the guy. You know who knows that? Cameron Dukes. Yeah, it don't matter. So maybe he can play freely. I mean, I don't know. It's not going to affect him.
He's not good enough to play freely. He's not good enough to play. My question, neither one of his coach. You've coached. You've been. What would you have said? Would you have said that? Would you have said that, Coach?
After that performance,
I think everybody. I would have kind of thought everybody understood that. This guy came in and won 16 games last year in his first year playing, something that was miraculous. And sometimes we allow other things that have happened to taint the way we look at a player. This guy was a great player last year. Was the MOP in his first year.
Real quick thing. You said you know Dinwiddie. We know Dinwiddie a little bit. He was pissed off at that performance.
He was. He wouldn't have pulled him if he wasn't.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's why he said it, because he was pissed off. He's like, when my quarterback comes back, he's coming in because Duke's not getting it done.
All right, this is enough negativity. We got to go over to the Montreal Alouettes. I'm changing the topic at this point. And look, we can't talk enough about Tyson Philpott and what he's done. I love that he said he wanted to be an 1,000-yard receiver at the beginning of the season. He's now on pace for 2,000 receiving yards. The kid's out of control, JB.
Yeah, he is everything you want in a receiver. I mean, he was a running back for a while as a youngster growing up, his dad being a running back, and he's taken those skills and taken advantage of it when he catches the ball, making things happen. But he's been doing just a fantastic job, I think, in every facet, including blocking, all those things, Milt.
Well, without a doubt. And when you watch him on film, his understanding of defenses has gotten so much better than last year. Over the last 2 years, his understanding of when he needs to break off, when he needs to change his pace, when he needs to do all those things. And there are a couple of plays that really show that. And this first play right here is a zone read where he just sits in the zone. A lot of young guys or even some older guys would get impatient and try to move around, but he understands what's going on. He stays in the triangle, allows his quarterback to throw the ball. In this play right here, you see these two DBs. They're playing off inside and out, basically saying one DB is going to take the outside, the other DB is going to take the inside. Well, if Tyson decides to go too quick inside, that inside receiver will shut him down. This next play is just GTTH or GTTB. Get to the business. That's just running a great route, getting open, allowing your number one receiver to make a play, and that's what you have to love about this guy. He's on pace to have a monster year if he continues playing like he is right now.
So these guys are averaging 6.7 yards yak per catch. 6.7 yards yak. The next closest team is averaging 5. So almost 2 yards more yak per catch. That's a ton of yards in the grand scheme of things, and that's kind of what these guys do, especially Keon Julian Grant. That's what he's known for. I've talked to guys in Montreal who told me that Keon Julian Grant is the toughest receiver to tackle in the league. That's what they feel like. And that's, if you look at Tyson and what he can do, he's also pretty good right after catch. But here's crazy. What position is he playing?
Well, it doesn't matter.
No, but he's playing Z.
They move him around, no chance. They move him around. But I know what you're saying.
Let me ask the question one more time. What position is he playing?
He plays Z.
That's the Z. That's what he
which is crazy because the Z doesn't get. There's never been a Z that is even in the top 50 in receiving. So yes, they move him around. They move around lots of guys. But that's also impressive. He's playing Z, lining up there and doing what he's done.
Well, see, the big thing is Cody Fajardo understands this offense better than any other quarterback understands a coach's offense, and he's been able to utilize these players in ways like you're talking about. Take a guy like Tyson Philpott and know how to use him and get him open.
And it was amazing, too, when Austin Mack left. Everyone thought, okay, is there going to be that period of time? It was instantaneous with Cody and him, too. It has been quite something. As we take a look now at the ranks currently in the CFL, Philpott second in the league with 564 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns this season. Alexander Hollins just 9 yards ahead of him. As Milt mentioned, it's been 14 years since a Canadian finished a season leading the CFL in receiving. We'll see if this young man can do it.
It's going to be a Philpott year.
That is caught. Tyson Philpott! Touchdown! Philpott down the
is absolutely on fire.
The man of the moment, number 6, Tyson Philpott.
Cody trusted me, I trusted him. You know, we make plays on and off the field.
Toronto leading the league in rushing yards with an impressive 123.8 yards per game. The person responsible for their ground attack, Kadeem Cash and Carey. Will he cash in tonight? So we take a look at the FanDuel 5's most popular anytime TD props for this evening's game. Toronto's Cameron Dukes is the most popular pick, followed by Montreal's Tyson Philpott. The Owls defense making this list as well. Nearly 4-1 odds. Time for the expert picks. I will start with you, Coach.
I'm going to take Kadeem Carey to carry the mail in for the Argos. They need to get that running game going, take the pressure off the kid. I'm taking Kadeem Carey.
That was clever. Kadeem Carey, mail. I like that.
Yeah.
Tyson Philpott, he's minus 150. What are we doing here? He's a receiver. He can't be minus 150. If you guys take your receivers at minus 150, shame on you. I'm taking the Argos defense at plus 500.
Wow.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter the odds. If you want to win this game, just pick who's going to score a touchdown.
Why do you keep doing that?
Why?
Guys, learn how to play the game properly. Plus 500. It's a long shot, but I'm swinging for the fence. I'm a little bit behind, as you'll tell by the leaderboard. I got to swing for the fences here. Long shots.
It doesn't matter
Doesn't
the
matter.
plus or minus. You just got to get the right pick, Junior.
You're wrong, by the way, but I'm not going to waste our time talking about you guys are both wrong. You don't know how to play the game, but all right.
I'm going with the second best quarterback sneaker as far as quarterbacks go in the league, and that's Caleb Evans. Number 1, I think, is Chris Stradler. But Caleb Evans, these Montreal Alouettes, they make a lot of big plays, and a lot of times they get down to the 5 to the goal line, and who do they put in quarterback? Caleb Evans. I could see him getting 2 or 3 quarterback sneaks for touchdowns a day, so that's
The
my guy.
second best quarterback sneaker?
That's pretty cool right there. Huh?
Can you wear those? Can you wear those?
By the way, for the first time this season, you didn't cheat off me either, because I don't put my picks in the group chat, because all you were doing was like, yep, I'm going to pick that person, that person. So now I'm stealing JB's picks. I'm waiting for him. So I also took Kadeem Carey. So this is my new strategy going forward as we recap right now who are TD picks.
To tweet out something for us?
No. So I'm back on Montreal's. Oh, did I take? Oh, shoot, I didn't. I took Tyson Philpott.
You took Tyson Philpott.
See, this is what's messing me up, is I don't contribute to the group chat anymore, so I don't. But you know what? Philpott's great, too. So I believe in Philpott. Al's defense was among the FanDuel 5. Chesy's going with the Toronto defense. Milt, you're going with Montreal's Caleb Evans. Well, Jim, you did pick Kadeem, Cash, and Carey.
BC Lions in complete control with their offense. Vernon Adams just on fire. Throwing deep, wide open, touchdown, stand back.
It reminded me of flag football. They were running scot-free, and Vernon Adams was having a field day.
Tosses into the hands of Hollins this time. He was open. He's still going. He's got a touchdown.
The BC Lions were certainly on fire, and Vernon Adams was happy to deliver the mail for his team.
How convenient we are now joined by the BC Lions quarterback, Vernon Adams Jr. VA, before we even start this interview, what is going on with the hair here? I've never seen this.
Oh, yeah. I got a hair appointment here soon, right after this, actually. So I'm going to go get braids and cut down the sides. So I'll be looking good for game day.
Milt Steele says he loves it, so maybe you should keep it and see what happens. In all seriousness, congrats on the start of the season. It's been so much fun watching the BC Lions, 4 straight victories. But I think the best part is just seeing the joy in this team. What is the mood like in this atmosphere and around the guys?
Well, it's fun. Winning is fun. So we're locked in. We're having a great time at practice. Defense winning days, offense winning days, but it's good. So it's competitive and we love it.
They're even having fun with you during an interview. You have to like it. When you look at this offense, you yourself, you're on pace for 6,300 yards. You've got this 3-headed monster right now of McInnes, Hollins, Stanback. Offensively, what is making this team gel so much, in your opinion?
Just the preparation we're putting in as a team, the coaches. We're all working hard. And we're just trying to be efficient at a high level, take care of the ball, get these playmakers the ball, let them do the rest.
Big game this weekend against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I know every game is big, but it feels like this one has a little more to it with the Riders being undefeated. What are your expectations for that one?
Yeah, you know, we're fighting for first place, so it is a big game, and we know that. So we're excited for the opportunity. That's a good team over there. I've already said it all week. Corey Mason's doing a great job with the defense and with that team as a whole. So just excited for the opportunity. The fans are going to be hyped and being loud in the dome. So we're excited.
Vernon, appreciate you taking the time. Enjoy the haircut. Davis says he's jealous of the hair as well, by the way.
I might get the Davis and the Mill Stiegel here soon.
You should. You should. They want you to. They're nodding at me right now. Yep. That'll happen. Appreciate it, VA.
That's awesome. I appreciate y'all. Keep up the good work.
And you know what, VA, you keep up the good work, too. He's first in every offensive category here. Absolutely incredible. Leading the league in passing yards with 1,752, as I mentioned there in the interview, on pace for 6,300. That would be just behind Doug Flutie, which is incredible. McInnes, by the way, he also set a career high in receptions, receiving yards, 2 touchdown catches for the second time in his career last week as well. How much fun was that game if you were a BC Lions fan, not so much Hamilton Tiger Cat fan? But, man, you look at this team, and they're just rolling. And, Ches, even though Saskatchewan Roughriders are coming in here right now, Shea Patterson's got to lead this team. This is a much different team than maybe we would have expected at this point. But it's still a huge game on paper.
It absolutely is, and if the BC Lions have a bye week coming up too. This is a big week for BC. They have some guys coming back. When TJ Lee's coming back potentially after this week, we'll see how this works out. They had a pretty good receiver that might be coming back into the mix too to go along with this guy Alex Hollins. But Hatcher come back too. So if they can get some guys back, some key vets back with what they've been doing, they're averaging 10 yards per pass. That's insane. Like this is an offense that's doing some truly special things. One thing about Sask, though, there's not a ton of pressure on Sask. You got to give it. People have been giving Mark Mueller a lot of credit, and I want to say this. You get to get the ball out fast. That's what Trevor Harris has done. So they have the fewest amount of pressures on them. You think it's partly because of Trevor, but it's been Shea as well. So it's also Mark Mueller giving them plenty of options, outlets, and just dialing up things to make his quarterback comfortable. So let's give the tip of the cap to Mark Mueller as well. Fewest pressures on these quarterbacks, and you're playing your second string.
Well, they're going to have to keep the ball away from the BC Lions. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think the Saskatchewan defense is up with the top in the league. That secondary is absolutely lights out. The 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter against Toronto last week kind of catapulted them into this. Now they move into a different class playing against VA. But they're going to need to hold the ball and keep the ball away from them, have Shea Patterson play efficiently like he did last week. If they can do that and go into BC and win, I mean, what a monster win that would be to give them the lead going in to, the rest of the games they'll play. They'll play 3 games. Right. And to get that first win would be great, especially with Trevor Harris out.
Yeah, VA is playing some historic football. Yep. The way he's out there producing, the way he's showcasing his skill set, it's going to be tough to beat him. And you mentioned Shea. Is he going to try to do too much to try to keep up with VA? Saskatchewan, they're leading the league in points, but a lot of that had to do with Trevor Harris. And now we're going to have to score some points because we know these BC Lions with VA, they can score some points. So it's the game of the week right now.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know, like, the biggest rap. Obviously, you're going to have Bombers taking on the Riders, and that one's always a marquee one. But there is something going now with the BC Lions and Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Watermelon Smash, by the way, always a fun event out west. As we take a look at the rest of your Week 6 schedule, the Stampeders taking on the Blue Bombers. Great game on Friday Night Football as well. Riders and Lions are Saturday night, and it all wraps up with the Red Blacks and the Elks. And how about you guys? Let's cue up VA one more time. Do we have that hair?
Look at
come on. I actually like it. I think he should roll with it. Oh, what?
Oh, yes.
We're going to call this the VA way. Come on, coach.
Get him. Leroy
That's it, baby. That's it. You look good, coach. You look good.
Is leading the league in tackles. Tyrese Beverett with 34 already this season. Also leading the CFL with 2 forced fumbles. And how good has this Montreal D been, allowing less than 20 points per game for opponents? The Alouettes have allowed the fewest offensive TDs so far this season, just 8. They have the best pass defense. They also haven't allowed a quarterback to throw over 300 yards this season. It's been ridiculous. Here's Kenzie Darnell Sankey.
Now we look at this Alouettes defense, again, just injuries. You got some guys in new positions here. So how do you guys maintain your typical caliber of play here?
You know, it's next man up mentality. Everyone on this defense can play ball. Everyone's ready for their time when their number's called, and some guys' their number's called today, and we expect them to go out there and perform.
We look at the Argos, a strong ground game, so how do you just slow it down?
Yeah, we just stick to our assignment, fill the gaps we need to fill, and fly around and hit.
Have fun.
Thank you.
If we were really committed on this panel, we would have all had the face paint done. You know, not just the hair, we would have gone to the next level. Ches, let's talk about this. The defense has been so incredibly good. I mean, they did show weakness on the run in the last game. We were talking about Toronto, you're probably running the ball a ton tonight, but overall, I mean, this unit's just been so impressive.
Where's the weakness? That's, you know, you schemed and scouted teams, Jim, and you try to find the weakness and circle that guy. I don't see one. Tonight, let's take a look at the quad, not in the middle of the field, though. We'll see what happens there. Maybe it's Cosby, who's been great, probably the rookie of the year for them. Maybe he moves back there to safety. Titus Wall comes in. Maybe he plays some Sam or vice versa. One of those two guys are probably the guys I see playing those two positions. But a big miss, because one thing that the quad does is he travels and gains a lot of ground. So not having him hurts them back there.
And you talk about weakness. I don't think they have a weakness. I know Kate mentioned that they haven't given up 300 passer yardage to any team, and only 100 receiving yard, 143. And last week you talked about the running game, but no individual runners rush for more than 65 yards. So there's no individual on offense that's getting in rhythm. So that's why they're not giving up any big plays. So it's going to be difficult for Cameron Dukes and these Toronto Argonauts offense to get going against his defense.
Well, this is a tough fill, though, trying to fill for Dequoy, because you're not just losing maybe the best free safety in the league, but you're losing a Canadian starter and replacing him with an American. So now they have to find that elsewhere, and it'll come from a combination of Derek Wigan, from Canton Arcou, the linebacker. When they go to a three-man front, he'll play, and then a Demi Bergman, because they need to play two on defense all the time. So it's going to be great to watch them make the adjustment.
You keep that
with
GM hat on all the time. Keep it on all the time.
And you know what? At least it's a bonus for the Argos receivers, too, right? Here's Kenzie Lalone standing by with DeVaris Daniels.
Well, DeVaris, let's just start with the Alouettes defense, one that at times can be unpredictable. How do you guys approach that?
It's all about us. I don't think we have to try to make them adjust to us, get the running game going early, come out with a tone, set the tone early, and just try to execute our game plan. I think that's all we can do.
Trying to put last week's game in the past at all, but did you and Cameron Dukes, receivers and quarterback, discuss it all this week and how to move forward?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's a young quarterback, man. We're going to have growing pains. We know that. We were prepared for it. Cam is a hard worker, man. He's going to come out here. He's going to show what he got, so we're not worried at all.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Daniels and company hoping to get back on track. The Alouette fans, though, they hope their team extends this winning streak to 14 games dating back to last season kickoff from Molson Stadium. Coming up right after this. For the second time in 3 weeks, the Alouettes and the Argonauts go head-to-head. The Alouettes looking to remain undefeated on the season so far, while Toronto looking to snap their two-game slide. It has been 14 years since a Canadian finished a season leading the CFL in receiving. Tyson Philpott, currently second in the league with 564 receiving yards, on pace for 2,000. Will he get there? 5 touchdowns. touchdowns, no interceptions in his first 2 games, both wins. But he has come back down to earth since then. 0 TDs, 5 picks in his last 2 games. Can Cameron Dukes turn it around against the defending champions on Thursday Night Football, presented by New York Fries? Hello, Canada. Welcome inside the CFL on TSN Studios. Kate Burdess alongside Jim Barker, Davis Sanchez, Milt Stiegel as we get set for the Montreal Alouettes taking on the Toronto Argonauts. And we just found out Keon Julian Grant will not be in this game this evening, injured in warm-ups. That is a tough one from the get-go. And for the Toronto Argos, this has been a tough stretch, the last 2 games at least. And Cameron Dukes getting pulled in that last game, Milt. And we just think at this point you need a little confidence, running the ball maybe a little bit more, but this is going to be a tough test for them.
It's going to be a tough test. Cameron Dukes, his toughest opponent is not the Montreal Alouettes today. It's his head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie. Because I have a feeling that if Cameron Dukes struggles early, I give him a quarter and a half, Ryan Dinwiddie's going to make a change. We saw it in last game when the game was still in the balance against the Rough Riders. He took them out. So Cameron Dukes has to play better earlier in this game or he won't finish this game at all.
They have a better chance to win with the third-string quarterback in there, with Crum. Do you think so?
With Crum? With Archer? I mean, with Arbuckle?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to find out.
Yeah.
He's going to find out.
Look, I think you have to give guys a shot, and I think your best chance to win is with this young man. He's made some plays with his legs. I know a couple of interceptions weren't his fault. The first 2, you could argue, weren't his fault. I let this guy play, but hey, we saw what I'm with you. I saw what Scott did. I think Scott. I saw what Ryan did. I think that I agree. At least he's short.
Well, a big part of how Cameron Dukes plays is up to Ryan Dinwiddie and the kind of formations and the kind of plays he calls for him to not put him in position to have to win the game. Put him in position to manage a game. Let Kadeem Carey, let Tavares Daniels, let some of these other guys take the pressure off of him so he can just go out and do what he did early in the season, first 2 games when Dinwiddie was calling genius games. So I think the pressure's on Ryan Dinwiddie.
Yeah, and things turned for Dukes, too, when he played against the Montreal Alouettes. So we'll see what happens in this one tonight. Montreal, they're going to start 6-0 for the first time since 2006. And by the way, shout out to the Montreal fans, too. Love seeing this stadium packed once again. Should be a great one. We'll get you there right after this.
Is that a David Sanchez shirt?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Thank you, Kate, and welcome to Montreal, where the red-hot Alouettes continue to push for historic levels of early season success. The last team to beat them 14 games ago, these Argos. Can the Boatmen put Montreal's hot streak on ice? We find out tonight as we welcome you inside Percival Molson Stadium. Marshall Ferguson, Dwayne Ford, Kenzie Lalonde at field level for us throughout the evening. This defense for Montreal, Dwayne, really has been the story. Despite the fact Cody Fajardo is playing great, the man in the middle is the story.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got a guy who is an absolute tone setter. He's determines the attitude for this entire Montreal team. You look at his record since he joined the club, 13-1. The only loss coming in Darnell Sankey's first game. He makes this team a little meaner, a little tougher. Now a guy who does the exact same thing for the Toronto Argonauts, and he looks to set that tone for his team tonight. Their middle linebacker, Winton McManus. We expect to see some big hits from both these guys.
There's Ryan Dinwiddie trying to get his group to regroup after a disappointing loss on the road against the Riders last week. Had a chance to win that one late, and, well, this team had a chance to win it late as well, and they pulled it off. They continue their hot streak to start the season as Jason Moss leads this group into week number 6. They got a bye week coming up after this one. It's been raining for the last couple of days here as the storms have rolled through much of the East Coast, and we are set to get things going. Thursday Night Football presented by New York Fries. It's the Owls and the Argos on TSN as Janarian Grant returns the opening kickoff. Got some room up across the 40. A great starting field position here for the Toronto Argonauts. Exactly what they needed.
For sure, and you hope that this field position gives Cameron Dukes a little bit of a boost as well, coming off a couple of tough starts, difficult outcomes. But Toronto Argonauts, when they have been at their best, it's been when Ryan Dinwiddie has been able to keep Dukes within his comfort zone, not forcing things. That's the goal tonight, but always a challenge against this Montreal defense, Marsh.
Crowd picks up right where it left off last Saturday night in a victory over the Stampeders. Loud early as they'll hand it off to Kadeem Carey, the former Stamp. Gets the opening carry here, and it is the Argonauts starting offense.
And along that offensive line, we'll keep an eye on Ryan Hunter, one of those first-round picks from the great O-line draft of 2018. A real pros pro. We had a great chat with Ryan this week. We'll keep an eye on Mackay Polk, the rookie in that receiving core. He's managed to stay in the starting lineup as different guys have been hurt, and now particularly as the Argos go with 4 Americans in the receiving core, a lot of their Canadian receivers fighting that injury bug.
Dukes checks in at the line of scrimmage. And a flag comes up before he could get it off. Did he take too long early on? Ben Major, referee this evening.
Second down.
Calling it in. It is a time count. And so it was too much time at the line of scrimmage, and that one hurts for Ryan Dinwiddie after that great 42-yard opening kickoff return.
And I talked about putting Cameron Dukes in position to be successful, to remain confident. A big part of that is staying ahead of the sticks. They got to avoid those penalties, staying ahead in terms of field position as well.
Here's where the Alouettes thrive. Second and long. Dukes rolls to his right, extends the play. Nobody available. Trying to find anyone. And instead, he's going to get run over by the first man out of the birdcage tonight, Jeffrey Canton-Arcu, the rookie out of Memphis.
Yeah, and this guy has been the biggest pearl in this year's draft class thus far. The most productive guy in the early going, Canton-Arcu. From his linebacker spot, we're going to see him play a lot of snaps on defense, and particularly as they balance the ratio with Marc-Antoine Dequoy out of the lineup tonight. 9th overall pick in this year's draft. He's been a beauty.
They're sitting there on draft night wondering why he isn't off the board yet. A lot of good players, but certainly one of the best, and he makes a play there. James Letcher Jr. gets his first touch of the ball game, and a talented return out across the 20 as Cody Fajardo and the Montreal Alouettes offense will come out onto the field. 12th career game-winning drive last week against Calgary.
Yeah, Cody Fajardo and this entire Alouettes offense playing with such a level of confidence. Remarkable performance, as you said last week, with that come from behind win, as there just never seemed to be a bit of panic from any member of the group. Calgary had that lead going into the 4th quarter, but it was as if Montreal had them right where they wanted them.
This crowd, as educated as any, they quiet right down after the opening defensive possession, and they go back here offensively to Cole Speaker, who had his best game against these Argonauts back in week number 4 as we see the Alouettes starting offense.
Yeah, I don't want to keep an eye on that offensive line. And Justin Lawrence, this is a guy who's a winner through his first 5 CFL seasons, 3 Grey Cup rings with 3 different teams. Pretty good teammate to have around. And Walter Fletcher, you talk about Fletcher. Now, through the first 5 games, Montreal has had 600-yard games from receivers, 4 different receivers, Fletcher becoming the 4th last week against Calgary.
Fajardo on 2nd and 6. Pressure on.
Rudess sur le pas, roughing the passer. Toronto numéro 19, number 19. Une penalty de 15 verges, it's a 15-yard penalty. Premier essai, automatic first down for Montreal.
Here you see the rush coming from the outside. Robert Priester in at that nickel linebacker spot with the injury to Quincy Moget. And just that redirection as you saw him flying through the air. And then realizing it was going to be a tackle rather than a knockdown.
3 different face masks on that one. It's Fajardo again with pressure on. And the Argos on back-to-back sacks, making plays. Robbie Smith at the bottom of the pile, as the Argonauts starting defense flying up the field right now.
Yeah, and big start for the Toronto Argonauts. As we take a look at that defense, Jordan Williams get more snaps at the D tackle spot with Jake Serezna out of the lineup. I mentioned the Canadian receivers being banged up. A few more snaps on defense for Canadian linebacker Fraser Sopik. And with a lot of changes in the secondary for Toronto from last season, Royce Metchie will be counted on to hold down the fort at safety.
Fajardo after the sack by Robbie Smith. Finds Cole Speaker over the middle of the field, breaks a tackle, and is into Argonauts territory. First down Montreal, and Cole Speaker picking up right where he left off a few weeks ago against the Double Blue.
Yeah, Speaker with his 100-plus yard receiving performance 2 weeks ago when these teams met in Toronto. Off to a terrific start. Big target working out of the slot for Cody Fajardo.
21 yards for number 17. Moves it all the way up to the 50. As Fajardo will go run this time. Walter Fletcher, a little strict run to the outside and out in front. Pierre-Olivier Lestage moving people with this Alouettes offensive line that's been helping Walter Fletcher get up to speed quickly this season.
And take a look at the Fletcher file from last week. There you see it, 160 yards from scrimmage. Not often you see a running back with over 100 yards receiving in a ball game, but Walter Fletcher piling up those yards after the catch.
Playing with great pace as well. Told us this week his favorite running back growing up, LaDainian Tomlinson. See a little bit of that in his game. Has another check down this time on second and medium, and Speaker reaches the football out, and we'll pick up another Alouettes first down.
Well, we talked about this a lot last week, Marsh, that it can be any receiver on any day for this Montreal Alouettes team.
Any drive.
Yeah.
They just pick and choose, don't they?
And this happens to be a Cole Speaker drive.
Jared Brinkman, a late substitution onto the field here, is Amani Dennis playing the boundary halfback, makes his way to the sidelines. So this Argonauts defense trying to find the right combination to get a stop. It's Fajardo, pops, looks down the field, and he will get brought down right around the original line of scrimmage.
As we talk about those Montreal receivers, you heard Kate mention in studio, Keon Julian Grant, a late scratch for Montreal tonight. Shedler Furvius, second-year man, will be the one looked upon in his spot.
See where Fajardo goes here. Why not? Tyson Philpott got north-south as quickly as he possibly could, and with Keon Julian Grant out of the ball game, that means that after Tyson Philpott, the next leading target getter in the passing game for these Owls, Walter Fletcher.
Yeah, interesting when you look at Montreal's receiving stats, and for as good as they've been, and we've talked about them spreading the ball around, I think it speaks to how exceptional a start Tyson Philpott has had, that he had almost twice as many yards as any other Montreal receiver, Keon Julian Grant being the number 2 guy.
Successful opening possession offensively here for the Montreal Alouettes. We'll see if they can cash in with some points in a historic year for field goal kickers. Hitting at a rate we haven't seen before, over 91%. This is Jose Maltos, and he misses it. And it sails through the back of the end zone. And so Montreal takes the lead, but not the one they wanted. Cameron Dukes asked about hitting the wall. A couple of games of film. Our defense is figuring him out. He said, well, lots of film on me, lots of film on these defenses too. I'm watching it, and I'm ready to go in week number 6. Game there.
Exactly what I was speaking about earlier in terms of the Argos' success in their first couple games versus struggles in these last couple. A big part of this is about playing from ahead in the ball game, right? Because it doesn't force Dukes to go chasing things.
This one up in the air, bouncing off the back of the intended receiver. This Montreal starting defense flying around once again on their second possession here.
And along the defensive line, Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund, first year here with Montreal. Expect him to take a bigger role in that pass rush in the absence of Sean Lemon. Tyrese Beverette, nobody fills a stat sheet quite like this guy, making sure darn near every column is looked after week. And Bryce Cosby listed as the free safety tonight, but in this defense, we expect to see a lot of people fill those responsibilities.
Snap, Duke's got it down. Now he's going to try to skip from 3 Alouettes, and he can't. Down he goes, and it's Jeffrey Canton-Arcou with Duquois out. They got to use more Canton-Arcou, and I don't think Noel Thorpe, Alouettes defensive defensive coordinator is upset about that at all.
Yeah, Kenton Arku coming from the right side of your screen. Noel Thorpe is going to let players play to their strength. Kenton Arku does a nice job getting to the quarterback. This his third sack of the young season.
The defense again, dominant early game, just like they were, and that looked like it should have been blocked, but it gets away off the foot of Haggerty, so Letcher catches the 57-yard punt, and Cody Fajardo, after a successful open possession, ended up going for a single on the missed field goal. He'll try to put 6 on the board and continue the winning ways of the Alouettes early in 2024. Cody Fajardo against the Calgary Stampeders last week. It didn't start all that fast. It wasn't explosive like we saw the last time that the Owls played here on Thursday Night Football, but eventually they got the wheels turning, and all of a sudden it was a downhill train that could not be stopped by the Stampeders.
Yeah, it sure was. One of the things that really stood out to me is you look at that game, and yeah, they had to try and get things going a little bit, make some plays. Because they were behind in the ball game, he throws a couple of picks. Still completed 83% of his passes.
It was super high efficiency. They were down by 15 points at one moment in that game, and they needed to find some solutions, and it was the high efficiency passing attack and also the running game of Walter Fletcher that we started to see get them back on the path as we see Fajardo over his last 13.
Yeah, and obviously the quarterback doing his part, contributing to this outstanding win streak, the wave that Montreal has been riding.
115th game played in the CFL tonight for Cody Fajardo. As he steps out of the pocket, looks downfield, one-on-one. He'll pump and try and get around the edge, and somehow on the wet turf, Terry Montreal stuck that right foot in the ground after evading the oncoming Jonathan Edward, but it will not be enough for the first down.
And nonetheless, a good sign for Montreal when Cody Fajardo gets on the run a little bit. I think this is something that is going to help keep that Toronto defense honest in this ballgame as they try to take away the big plays from his receivers.
We talked about it the last time, but seeing him run like that, comfortably in rhythm, that looks like Cody Fajardo in the best season he's had in the CFL back when he was in Saskatchewan. And a lot of Alouettes fans very excited about even plays like that don't produce points. Give them an opportunity to believe when he's healthy, he can be a true dual threat quarterback. Janarian Grant returns this 50-yard punt up to the 30. And the Argonauts get the football back, trailing early on by a score of 1-0. Cam Dukes trying to get him on the board when we return. Beautiful night here in Montreal after the rain passed through. I know our friends out in the Maritimes dealing with the heavy stuff right now. Hope that they get through unscathed as Cam Dukes will hand this one down inside. The running game trying to support him, but man, it has been a completely different story. First 2 games 2-0, last 2 0-2, and it's obvious why.
Yeah, and the things that stand out, obviously completion percentage and the touchdown to interception ratio being huge. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but this is about the situations in which he has been forced into in the last 2 games, whereas the first couple of starts for Dukes this season, I think Ryan Dinwiddie and the Argos offense were kind of dictating things. The last couple games, defenses have dictated, and situation has dictated Dukes having to step out of his comfort zone.
Quick little play action this time, easy completion, blocking downfield as Rasheed Bailey makes the grab. The leading receiver for these Toronto Argonauts coming into tonight has himself 22, now 23 targets.
Yeah, and I'm kind of excited to watch Rasheed Bailey this season. You and I have talked about it. This was a free agent signing that I really like, as I think this is a guy who was always capable of bigger things, but just there's so much depth in the receiving corps in Winnipeg. There are going to be limited opportunities for him to shine. But here in Toronto, a different situation. He has certainly had an early impact for the Argonauts.
They use him all over the place, as here he'll be blocking as they run it right in between the tackles. And Kadeem Carey rock walking down that near hash on first down. A good chunk, which is something that the Argonauts do a pretty good amount of, is run the football on first down and get good gains.
Yeah, Kadeem Carey in the offensive line. A key for Toronto against this Montreal team, and particularly a Montreal team that's dealing with a couple of injuries. You want to try and wear them down. I think for Montreal, as hot as they have been, Montreal has their eye on that bye week next week.
Trying to get to the finish line on their first third of the season. Toronto wants to disrupt it, as this time they go back down inside running game. First down Argonauts. And this will certainly make Cam Dukes feel like he's got a lot of breathing room behind him and lots to gain moving forward as wholesale changes here, substitutions going into first down.
And we'll take a look at this very cohesive Toronto Argonaut offensive line. Going to work with the veteran Kadeem Carey. Banging around in behind them.
Your fellow foodie Ryan Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Banging around that time with Darnell Sankey pretty good right in the middle. Great matchup to watch all night long as Deonta McMahon checks into the game. Dukes rolls to the left. Blows it up, goes cross-body, and it is caught. Running away from traffic and down the right sideline. It looks like Richie Sindani, yes, makes the grab. Sindani, limited opportunities this season, just his 13th target. No touchdowns, but he gets a big chunk that time.
You're going to see Sindani motioning down the line as he's going to work across the field here. Putting himself in position, recognizes zone coverage. He's got a little bit of space, doesn't run through it. Sits down in the opening, allowing Dukes to find him. Big play after the catch for the former Regina Ram. Calgary Dino, a little bit of time in junior ball with the Calgary Colts as well.
Dan Alouettes, Canadian running back, gets the touch here down at the 18-yard line. So that'll be a gain of 5. Second down and 5 to come as they rotate the backs. They've gone from Carey to Deonta McMahon, and now they put in the Canadian Alouettes.
Yeah, pretty good three-headed monster in that Toronto Argonaut backfield. Wondered a little bit in the offseason if the injury to Daniel Alouettes late last year maybe changed Toronto's plans, if they were looking at him as the heir apparent to Andrew Harris, maybe going Canadian in that backfield, but a little bit of uncertainty with Alouettes coming off injury, but he's looked terrific through the first few weeks.
The Argonauts this season, just 8 score zone opportunities, 5 score zone touchdowns, both low in the CFL. They are in the score zone now, inside the 20. They'll check it down to Alouettes. Makes the drag, right into the tackle.
And certainly for a guy like Noel Thorpe here in Montreal, who values versatility, those interchangeable pieces, an opportunity to bring the former Stampeder into the fold was too much to resist. And particularly as you've had Reggie Stubblefield injured at the nickel spot, now Dubois injured at safety, Wall proving to be a very valuable pickup.
Miram Haralahu from 29 yards out. As always, swings through this one smoothly. Just 2 touchdown drives in their last 28 possessions. But the Argonauts are on the board in Montreal.
Welcome back to our very special edition of CFL Jeopardy. Troy, you have control of the board.
Welcome to the Big Leagues 1000.
This league's 20-yard deep end zone means Cody Fajardo has more options close to the goal line than Patrick Mahomes does. Ben.
What is the CFL?
Yes, Canadian Football League.
Organization's 400.
I'll take bucket list accomplishment for 1,000. Not only is his CFL quarterback 5-0 right now, but he had a dream moment earlier in this year. His name was used as a clue in Jeopardy alongside Patrick Mahomes. He had no idea it was happening, but he messaged him, so he was able to catch it live. The only tweak, though, Marshall, is that he would have liked to have seen a Montreal Alouettes end zone. So, Marshall, what is the answer?
Who is Cody Fajardo as he goes rolling to his right, and Jared Brinkman on the scene with a cross-body throw. And who is Cole Speaker? Well, he's the man with the football across the 50.
Well, Cole Speaker This is a guy who played his first CFL game against the Toronto Argonauts in a sort of meaningless game in terms of the standings at the end of the 2022 season, but obviously demonstrating he's pretty comfortable against the double blue. 100-yard game already against them earlier this season, and off to a quick start here tonight.
Fajardo getting creative, rolling to his right. That's when you know he's at his best. They'll end off the first quarter here with another roll to the right. Chucks this one away into the turf in front of Reggie White Jr. Incomplete. Fajardo grabbing that hamstring, headed to the bench on that side, and hopefully that's just a little tweak and nothing that's going to hamper him. But on the final play of the first quarter, the Alouettes starting quarterback goes limp. It looks like he's going to head down the tunnel here, as they're going to end up sending the football away after the break. We'll see Cole Speaker with a big first quarter. We'll keep our eye on Fajardo. Great back and forth East Division matchup here in week 6. Welcome back to Montreal. It is a low-scoring first quarter between these two, but certainly both offenses going back and forth a little bit, feeling it out. The concern right now, obviously, is Cody Fajardo. We'll get a look at a second at the injury here, but that was a bit of a strange way for the Alouettes to end the first quarter.
Yeah, it really was, but I think this has a little bit to do with schedule. The Alouettes playing some tough games, playing on a short week here, and you know the first thing that every team looks at it in December when that schedule comes out is looking at how many short weeks they have versus their opponents and so on, and they start planning their prep. But this is kind of why, right, is wanting to practice accordingly, and this is something Jason Moss talked to us about this week, is managing your practice schedule around really the overall look of your schedule and trying to make sure that your guys are healthy come game day. They're doing their best to balance things right now, but as we said earlier, just kind of trying to survive until that bye next week.
Fajardo showing a little bit more discomfort the further down that tunnel he went, as our crew got the shot there. They come out this time with Caleb Evans slinging it down the right sideline. Incomplete, intended for Shedler Furvius, and on the coverage, it is Amani Dennis checking in, first-year player out of Carthage.
Yeah, Amani Dennis getting an opportunity in the lineup, taking the place of Mason Pierce, who had such a strong 2023 season for the Toronto Argonauts. A lot of new faces in that secondary this season, as I mentioned off the top, as they're trying to find just the right mix back there. Dennis trying to do his part to stay involved.
Late substitutions here as well. Some confusion from the Argonauts on special teams. So Jonathan Edward was headed to the sideline, stays on. And now Joseph Zima will boot this one away. Trying to drop it inside the 10-yard line. It goes into the end zone. And spinning backwards, and that's a no-doubter right there when it comes to no yards, as that's one of the players checking onto the roster, K.D. Davis, that hasn't been involved that much. And the guys who are used to the CFL rules here having a bit of a laugh at his the double blue some life.
Yeah, and this is the kind of play, quite frankly, that you need when you're the Toronto Argonauts playing against this Montreal team. I go back to the Calgary game last week where I thought they manufactured some big plays, right? We ended up talking a lot about their backup short yardage quarterback, Tommy Stevens. They got a couple of their biggest plays out of their short yardage group, so looking to different sources other than your offense to provide a boost in terms of big plays and field position, I think has to be part of the formula against a Montreal team that's not going to give you a lot. Janarian Grant could be a big part of that.
Well, and he's getting some snaps on offense as well. He was in when they got inside the 20-yard line, and the check down was completed to Attaboy last time.
Non respect de l'immunité. Montréal numéro 46. No yards, Montreal number 46. The penalty is declined. La pénalité est refusée. The result of the play is a single point. Le résultat, c'est un point pour Montréal. Pardon. Un point pour Montréal.
Ben Major on the call. Our referee here is, so they'll take the single point and make your score Leafs 3, Canadians 2. Back and forth with singles they go. Singles and field goals early on, but these defenses have dug their heels in early on. Attaboy remains in the backfield. They'll get the touch here as Isaac Adeyemi Berglund gets to the outside and turns Attaboy back in.
Defensive line flowing well to the football here. Amy Berglund, the Dartmouth, Nova Scotia native, played a little Seja football here in Quebec before heading south to college. He and Derek Wigan, former Stampeders, doing a terrific job defending that one.
Second and 8 for Cam Dukes. They'll rush forward. He steps up to the pressure. A wall of defenders there. He throws it backwards, and it's completed. Darnell Sankey hot on pursuit of Dukes that time. Attaboy getting another touch here and starting to wonder whether or not Kadeem Carey is okay.
Yeah, usually we anticipate kind of seeing Carey for a couple of series, Attaboy for one, but back-to-back extended looks here for the Toronto native, Daniel Attaboy.
And the Alouettes defense continues to mix and match who they're using in replacement of Marc-Antoine Duquois, out tonight with injury. Tyrese Beverett getting most of the snaps at free safety, but everyone pitching in and forcing the Argonauts off the field as James Letcher Jr. picks up a skipping punt at his own 15-yard line. Flags are out as Tyson Philpott makes his way back out onto the field early on in the second quarter, on pace for what could be a historic season, potentially over 2,000 yards. We'll see how it unfolds the remainder of tonight, week 6 in the CFL. Welcome back to Montreal as we take a look back at Cody Fajardo and making it rain to Tyson Philpott. A ton of plays against his brother. The first official matchup of the Philpotts, and lived up to the hype with Tyson getting a chance to play hero.
Yeah, another terrific game for Tyson Philpott. Busy night, his third 100-plus yard receiving game of this young season.
Montreal went on to victory 30-26 last Saturday as Fajardo remains out of the ball game after grabbing his hammy. Caleb Evans in the game at quarterback, and you can really see the development here of Tyson Philpott, what he's been able to accomplish. And obviously, basic statistics don't tell the full picture of a player's development, Dwayne, but this is pretty good stuff. Yeah,
obviously trending in the right direction, but a steep upward curve here. And I often think this for Canadian players is year 3 is big, right? In terms of sort of, that's where you think of the point at which they have closed the gap.
See what he can accomplish. Kicking off week number 6 in Montreal. A little punt this time from Evans. Wanted to take a shot down the field. He'll check it down instead. As it is complete, goes to Charleston Rambo, his first grab of the ball game, the Miami Hurricanes grad. And it will be short of the yards to gain, and so out comes the punting unit once again. And this Montreal offense starting to get a little bit bogged down. You get the sense, like when Caleb Evans came in last week against the Stampeders for a couple of plays, the rhythm just isn't the same, the confidence necessarily that Fajardo gives the entire huddle.
Yeah, and there's that veteran status, that experience, of course, of Cody Fajardo. But just the number of reps that he has had with these receivers, because you see even with Fajardo, he's grown a lot this year as opposed to last, just based on experience, familiarity.
Alouettes offense picked up right where they left off at the end of last season. Didn't go back to page 1. Felt like they were building something special, and they have early this year. Trying to hold on to it tonight is a big hit. This time with Janarian Grant, a 51-yard punt, and Amy Berglund down there, Tyrese Beverett, all the defensive starters working on specials for Byron Archambault's Alouettes specials teams.
Thank you, by the way, Marshall, for that.
Great to be in the booth. Kadeem Carey on the sidelines. We did wonder what's going on with him, as it is Deonta McMahon on the field right now for the first snap of this drive. Cam Dukes flips it out, complete underneath. Rasheed Bailey puts his shoulder down as Cosby makes the play that time, and Bailey has a word or two after.
Well, keep an eye on both these guys, as you're going to see Rasheed Bailey coming out of the backfield. They use him so much in the blocking aspect of the run game, so they take advantage of the same in their motion, disguise some things, give him a little bit of a block look in the box there before moving outside. But big collision there between he and Cosby. A couple of guys who like the physical game, letting each other know. We'll keep an eye on that battle. as this one unfolds.
Perry is back into the ball game. They'll go right to him with a stretch run outside on 2nd and 3. Love being able to mix and match those as a play caller. Carey gets up and celebrates. The average depth of target right now for the Toronto Argonauts, crazy low, but that's a trend we've seen developing when they mix it in with this running game.
Yeah, so much of the play action stuff is naturally evolves to those short routes. And we saw it right from week 1. Or game 1, at least, with the Toronto Argonauts, is that's what they were going to build their offense off of with Cameron Dukes under center.
This time they take the run left, pitch it back right. They go with the 2-back set of McMahon. Gets to the outside, picks up a couple of yards, and again, trying to find ways to get completions for Cam Dukes, get him into a rhythm here with a little over 9 minutes remaining in the first half.
Yeah, we've seen it even just these couple of plays with McMahon, with Rasheed Bailey. Put the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Let them go get it, even if it's 4, 5, 6 yards at a time in the passing game. That still allows the first downs to add up.
Crowd into it on 2nd and 4. They want this Alouettes defense to get a stop, and they will. Stacked up in the backfield. Jeffrey Canton-Arcou is there again.
Yeah, the rookie continuing to have a tremendous impact on this defense. And keep an eye, he's coming off the right side of your screen, Canton-Arcou. And Darnell Sankey up the middle, just a case of pick your poison for Kadeem Carey.
John Haggerty, side-winding boot will drive James Letcher Jr. all the way back to his 11, a 52-yard punt, and now bouncing off tacklers and trying to get to the edge, but Fraser Sopik, the Western Mustang. Welcome back to Montreal as Caleb Evans in the huddle still. Cody Fajardo being worked on right now, one of the true contenders for the MOP alongside Vernon Adams Jr., but profile of that man has experience, obviously, being a starter in the past, has been with the Ottawa Red Blacks organization, made his way here after Dom Davis left the backup role in Montreal to go to BC. He's fit in nicely as a short yardage quarterback, but he's got to do a lot more. Right now, if Fajardo doesn't come back, they'll start with a screen.
This is the guy we talked about wanting to set the tone for the Toronto Argonauts in this ball game. And Wynton McManus has done just that, the biggest play of the night. Thus far, first major of the ball game comes from the Argos D and their middle linebacker. McManus coming from the right side of your screen. We can see, I'm not sure Caleb Evans can, as he loops around following the ball carrier on the, the intended receiver on the screen. Bit of an overthrow there from Evans. Easy grab from McManus. He knows what to do from there.
Well, you saw the frustration of Jason Moss, the execution on that one. It went sideways right from the word go. Couldn't get Lestage out in space. Bumping into offensive lineman. Donovan got in the way, slowed everything down. We just chased down the backside of this thing and said, guys, I know exactly what you're doing.
You'll see Wynton McManus stacked in behind. Watch how he loops towards the middle. Mentioned Lestage trying to get out in front of the intended receiver, Walter Fletcher, on the screen. But as things get blocked up because of the stunt the Argos had on, Fletcher can't get to where Evans anticipates his back being. Number 48 in white, however, was there. It makes a big play for the Toronto Argonauts.
Caleb Evans will want that one back. That is nightmare fuel for quarterbacks. Deep in your own end, just trying to get some space from your goal line. You call a screen, how to execute it, but it was a mess, and they paid the price. So 10-2 after the extra point. And Toronto in the lead. They have trailed in all 4 of their games so far this season by at least 7. 10 points or more in 3 of their 4 games, but they have an 8-point lead here as they send the football back to James Letcher Jr. Special teams coverage units for the Argonauts struggling throughout the start of this season, giving up a lot more than the rest of the teams in the CFL, but they're able to bring down Letcher that time. And this is always the tough part, right, Dwayne? You got to go right back to work.
Yeah, this is it. Shaking it off, overcoming adversity, learning from it, but not dwelling on it. Caleb Evans, now in his 4th year in the Canadian Football League, but in the grand scheme of things, still a young quarterback. We'll see how he responds here.
That offense as a whole, only 4 interceptions so far on the season. Fajardo's done a pretty good job of keeping it clean, but he is in the tunnel right now, grabbed his hamstring at the end of the first quarter. So Evans at the controls, flicks this one out. And it's caught by Fletcher. There's a nice completion, catch and run. And a lot of what we saw when he had those 9 targets, 9 catches for 104 yards last Saturday against the Stamps.
Yeah, and this is a good get back on the horse kind of play. Another high percentage, get the ball out of your hands quickly, get a completion, get a first down.
I call something running away from Winter McManus too. He's hot right now. He's seeing it pretty well. Evans in the gun. They'll go flea flicker here. Max protection. Evans sidesteps, looking for Cole Speaker, and it's incomplete. You can see the Max Pro, everybody squeezing down as tight as they could, but an Argonaut came firing through, and Evans a little bit disturbed off the point of trying to get rid of it. Incomplete.
And I think back as I watched this play to Caleb Evans' first play in the ballgame. Backup quarterback comes off the bench and they try to throw the ball deep. There's sort of an element of trying to catch the opposition off guard. You see Winton McManus.
I think he thought he was going to be able to catch that and run.
Yeah.
He almost had another pick.
And Jonathan Edouard doing a good job of staying at home on the play, staying with his receiver, Cole Speaker.
And I'm thinking this is going to be defensive pass interference challenge.
Yeah, they're looking over there. There was a little bit of contact as you could see where Speaker seemed to bog down for a step or two.
Montréal demande une révision du jeu. Ils sont d'avis qu'il y aurait eu une passe interférence pour Toronto ce dernier jeu. On va réviser le jeu. Check. Montreal is asking for a challenge. They believe there should have been pass interference on the previous play. The play will be reviewed.
So Dave Foxcroft back in command this evening as the replay official, and so he will look at it as Ben Major communicates with the gang back there at command, trying to sort out whether or not there's pass interference here on Jonathan Edouard against Cole Speaker.
Yeah, keeping an eye on the bottom of your screen. The lone matchup out there. Speaker tries to give it a double move, and Edouard, as he turns it upfield, delivers a little bit of a jam. Looked like a little bit of contact later in the route there as well. And pass interference, you think it's about that time when the ball is in the air. When you're looking at pass interference, that would be the contact right here that Jason Nomas is seeking a ruling on.
And so Speaker unable to reach it. We'll see whether or not it was enough to impact his ability to play the football in the air. As no doubt Jason Moss is going to stay aggressive in this game. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback. That is his mentality.
And I think when you look again at what the first play call was when Evans came into the game, and then going to this play at this stage of the ball game, Jason Moss is very clear in his intentions.
And this doesn't really feel like a reach either. This isn't, well, my backup quarterback's in, I'm going to throw a challenge flag and just see if I can find something. It's legitimate. They want to know whether or not there was enough contact. to be able to slow Speaker down, which, man, if he would have caught that, his first half receiving numbers start to go off the charts once again against Toronto. It's been solid over the middle, but to try and stretch the field with him. Big opportunity for the Alouettes as Moss looks on. We'll head down to Ben Major, who has the call from Dave Foxcroft in command.
Suite à la révision du jeu, la décision sur le terrain est maintenue. Il n'y a pas de pénalité. C'est deuxième essai. Montréal perd un temps mort. Following review of the play, the ruling on the field stands. There's no penalty for pass interference. Montreal loses their challenge and a timeout. It's second down.
So there you have it. And as you alluded to, Marshall, really, it's about the impact that contact had, not enough to have determined whether or not Speaker could get to that football on the play.
So now Caleb Evans has gone from a pick six to Wynton McManus to trying to hit the home run on a flea flicker. What will he do? Throwing it into the left-hand side. Charleston Rambo makes the grab. It's Fraser Sopik, step for step, but Rambo will get an Alouettes first down and a solid throw that time from Evans.
And Charleston Rambo getting a chance to play in the slot a little bit, use that waggle. Quick break, bouncing it back to the outside. The linebacker Sopik playing inside leverage.
Gain of 18, pressure on Evans, finds the laces, rips this one out to his left. And it's Rambo once again. And a little conversation happening out there in the boundary between Leonard Johnson and Fraser Sopik.
Yeah, trying to get things straightened out there as Charleston Rambo hurts them on the boundary side on back-to-back plays. Figuring out how they're going to take care of that receiver coming off the line.
So Rambo goes to the sidelines here alongside Reggie White Jr. Extra offensive lineman and a fullback in for Caleb Evans. First and 10. Pressure on. Throwing into it. It's a screen into the boundary and bouncing off tackler Shedler Furvius in today for Keon Julian Grant, who dealing with some injuries from the warm-up and so was suited up but will not play.
As we see Keon Julian Grant on the sidelines. You know, that play call, not surprising, as I was kind of noticing the stats and prepping this week of Shedler Furvius. The curious statistics. Came into this game with 2 receptions for 1 yard, and that 1 yard was after the catch. Seeing him catch a hitch screen, yeah, you anticipate it.
Pressure on again, Evans gets it away. And throws up the U here in the CFL.
So if you were worried about Caleb Evans' confidence after throwing that pick 6 on the screen, fear no more. He stands in with Toronto Argonauts bearing down on him here. Fraser Sopik comes completely free on the blitz. Evans hangs in just long enough to put it up there and let Charleston Rambo run under it for the touchdown.
Might not have felt like it, Dwayne, because it had that challenge in the middle. That was just a 3-minute, 8-second grab. And they were actually running football play. 7.71 yards in the end zone for Rambo. You're right, that pressure right down the middle from Caleb Evans. Did a great job of standing in and getting it over the top of the defense where only Rambo could find it.
Here's Sopik on the blitz as the man in his face. Evans recognizing he's getting man coverage, no deep help in the middle. Rambo takes the hole. I can tell you there's a whole lot of Kahari Jones to Milt Stiegel highlights that look a lot like this.
A look of desperation on Amani Dennis's face inside that Argos helmet, realizing that Rambo had a step on him. And so Caleb Evans now has the pick 6 to Wynton McManus and has the touchdown pass.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, big picture, psychologically, a key play for the Montreal Alouettes there is backup quarterback in the game. They're going to send pressure. The way you get them to stop sending pressure, make them pay for it. Caleb Evans did that.
Absolutely. return alongside Janarian Grant to some open field here. And trying to answer the touchdown that Janarian Grant had last week against Saskatchewan. Goes for a return of 43 as Noel Thorpe on the sidelines dialing it up for this Alouettes defense. Let's go down to Kenzie Lamont with more.
Yeah, thanks, Marshall. We look at the Montreal Alouettes right now, certainly caught by the injury bug. But if there's one thing we know about North defense, it's built on versatility and the ability to play in new positions. You go back to last week's game and how we saw Najee Murray slide in for Dubois. Tonight we're seeing Bryce Crosby do the work. How about Gagne as long snapper in last week's game as well? And Jose Malto still the kicker. And with that, it'll take a full team effort. As we know now, Cody Fajardo will not return to the game, so we'll see more of those slings by Caleb Evans.
Big hit here, headed towards the sideline of Kadeem Carey as flags came up on the snap. And thank you, Kenzie. Confirmation that Cody Fajardo not returning for the remainder of
Toronto n'avait pas d'allié qui fermait la ligne sur le côté gauche. Sur le côté de Saint-Vert, on va reprendre le premier essai. Toronto had no closing the line on their left side. That's procedure. It's a 5-yard penalty. It's still first down.
And this is what we saw that hurt Toronto opening possession, right? They had that great return on the opening kickoff, giving Cameron Dukes good field position, ran the ball, get into a nice 2nd and 5, second and manageable, and then took a penalty to put Dukes in a hole. Same thing here. They got to break that cycle.
Trying to find some yards before the 3-minute warning. Dukes stands tall. Bounces out to the right, flips it across his body, complete, and that'll be enough for the first down. A nice throw on the run. Slid that one into the waiting arms of Kadeem Carey. Goes for a gain of 16.
Been kind of curious to see this season how the use of Kadeem Carey in the passing game unfolds.
Dukes flips it out on a swing this time with Kadeem Carey playing the role of Walter Fletcher from last week for the Alouettes. Catching plenty of passes out of the backfield and trying to get as many yards after the catch as he can. The Argonauts still lead 10-9, but the Owls closing it down. Evans to Rambo. 3-minute warning in Montreal.
Thank you.
You're welcome, JB. Coming up at the half, we have big things planned. We're going to talk about the injury to Cody Fajardo, good and bad Caleb Evans, and Milsteagle has promised that he will eat an entire thing of New York fries poutine on national TV.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
I have my doubts, Milton. Dan Adebaboye in the game, gets the rock, puts it back inside the 30 to the 20. And he's down just outside the 10-yard line. There's an injured Alouette down behind the play. But Adebaboye takes a monster rip for about 31 yards.
Yeah, you see the power of Adebaboye in the run. Jeffrey Canton-Arcou, who has been so important to this defense, rotational player, gets caught in an awkward position. Watch the receiver, Rashid Bailey, is going to motion to the backside and block. Canton-Arcou is on the end of the line. And that right leg just got caught in an awkward position on the cut block from the receiver. So again, obviously a big hit just in terms of the scheme defensively for the Alouettes. But remember, Canton-Arcou becomes relied on a little bit in terms of that ratio as well, with a Canadian starter and Marc-Antoine Dequoy out of the lineup. One of the ways that Montreal balances that, keeping their two Canadians on the field on defense, is getting Canton-Arcou involved in the rotation. They didn't directly replace Dequoy with a Canadian at the safety spot, but more snaps for Canadian Derek Wiggin in the interior of the defensive line, more snaps for Canton-Arcou at linebacker, and they lose a little bit of flexibility here.
We get another look at it on the backside, and that right leg just looked like it was set up well outside of his body's frame as he thankfully does walk off the field. So the good news is they don't have to get the card. It was actually jogging off the field here. That's great to see Kenton Arku get that look, but you're right, if he's down, it's time to find some creative problem solving as a slap on the shoulder pads from head coach Jason Moss. You saw linebackers coach Greg Quick as well. They're standing alongside KD Davis, who's on the roster and trying to sort things out. Byron Archambault goes over to have a word with Kenton Arku as well. So they'll sort out the substitutions here, but more shuffling of the deck on the back end for this Alouettes defense. Cam Dukes, meanwhile, quick throw outside. Bailey makes the grab. He's on right there alongside Deontay Ruffin, who's tied for second in the CFL with 2 interceptions, including the one that ended the game against the Calgary Stampeders last week.
Yeah, big one for Ruffin against his former team. He's been one of the mainstays on this defense this season as some pieces around him have moved around. He has started every game at that always challenging boundary halfback spot. His play has been a bright spot. Wesley Sutton has played a lot there the last couple of years. He's out with injury. Ruffin has been terrific in his place.
I haven't said the name of Tyrese Beverett much. Wonder if he makes a play here. They send Ruffin empty out for Dukes. Now he's got to scramble to his left, throw across his body into the end zone, and it's a touchdown. Demonte Coxey hauls it in, and Cam Dukes making a play with his feet all the way to that left sideline before finally Coxey got open.
Dukes doing a nice job staying alive, break and contain here. Keep an eye on the left tackle, Isaiah Cage, on this one. May have gotten away with a bit of a hold there as Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund was trying to fight to the outside. He kept the hands inside the frame, and I think that's what allows him to avoid getting a call against him.
Coxey, one of the great catches of all last season. Right here at Percival Molson as a member of the Argonauts, a diving grab in that end zone. Opposite side of it, but big body receiver. And now there's flags everywhere as it looks like Liram-Hairoalahu's gotten into it with somebody. Is it Mustafa Johnson as they cross back towards their sideline?
I think someone on that Montreal defensive line took a good run and rolled someone on the Argo line, and Liram wanting to break the stereotype of the role of kicker. Leaps to the defense of his teammate there, getting in some faces.
Jason Moss has a word with his bench. There's a little bit of Noel Prefontaine and Liram-Hairoalahu.
That's my son, Malachi.
Malachi's going to like that one as Daddy goes and gets it from Cam Dukes. What a move to get out of the pocket from the free rusher as well, buddy.
Yeah, we know that elusiveness is a big part of Cameron Duke's game. And he puts it to work here. Big grab for Demonte Coxey, working back towards the line of scrimmage with his QB on the move in his direction.
That's why you work all those back drills. Right quarterback.
Gave him the leg and took it away.
Special teams periods, every quarterback on the play is going, why are we doing these? That's why.
Yeah.
There's Noel Thorpe, not a fan of it, and some push it down the field, and then Hairoalahu went for a run. A couple of ex-Tiger Cats, Dylan Wynn and Hairoalahu. So I had Mustafa Johnson involved with it, but Dylan Wynn sending a message on that one. And Hairoalahu looks like he's going to be the one that comes away worse for wear and penalty yardage.
We got to get these kickers under control.
Well, they've been hitting all these field goals at historic rates. I think they're starting to feel themselves a little bit. Maybe do a little bit more than kicking. As James Letcher Jr. down that left sideline, another solid return. Letcher Jr. who continues to make plays. As the panel coming up at halftime, Kate, Milton, Chezzy, and Coach Barker back there breaking it all down for you, as they'll also be teeing up all things around the CFL. The remainder here of Week 6 is some fantastic matchups on tap. Interested to see what's going to happen in Friday night football coming up tomorrow. Calgary and Winnipeg.
The rematch.
Yeah, after Calgary was so close to getting a victory here, Montreal 3-0 to start the season against the West. Caleb Evans. Play action, flips it out, incomplete. And maybe they were trying to sneak Walter Fletcher out the back door once again, but he had to go ahead and find somebody else to block. There was a lot going on there defensively for the Argos.
Yeah, the screen has just not been Montreal's thing here tonight. Pick 6 by Winton McManus earlier in this second quarter, and as you saw that time, things just didn't shape up as desired for the Owls.
Winton locked in on Walter Fletcher where he's going, knowing how much the Alouettes love the screen game, especially with Caleb Evans in. Fajardo done for the night. What looked like a hamstring injury. Now Evans steps up, tucks and runs, and bounces through traffic all the way up to the 50, and he reached it out. His body mechanics, the momentum just leaned him forward. He happened to have the ball in his left hand, and it might have been enough. It will be an Alouettes first down.
And I remember talking to Evans after his a big part of his focus was adding a little bit of weight, trying to be a little bit stronger when he was carrying the football. You see the benefit of the work he's put in on that right there.
4 receivers to the left. He'll complete this one to Cole Speaker. Tackled right around the 55-yard line. The Speaker continues to chip away.
Yeah, emerging as this week's go-to guy in the Montreal receiving corps. A good start for Ryan Dinwiddie and the Toronto Argonauts. I go back to the point I made off the top. Need to play from ahead against Montreal. Calgary did it for as long as they could last week. That's why they gave them such a great fight.
Inside handoff. Absence.
Well, you think all the time about looking to the pass game, trying to push the ball deep, thinking that's where you're going to get your big plays. How many big plays have we seen from Walter Fletcher through the Montreal Alouettes' first 6 games of this season, whether it's been on a short pass, so you see him here to the right of your screen, inside handoff, kind of counter motion with Speaker motioning out of that backfield. And you get to see the moves and speed of Walter Fletcher in the open field.
In the CFL, all the window dressing and the layers of motion and crossers, and it's just an inside. Can you get to the second level and move some bodies?
Yeah, it's not about being able to do a million different things. I think it's about being able to do a handful of things very well, but making them look different.
And one of the things Jason Moss told us is Caleb Evans loves getting some run support, if you will, here in midsummer. Is that he said that they basically started training camp, didn't go back to page 1 of the playbook. They decided, no, you know what, we got a lot of continuity. We got a lot of players who know what they're doing around here. Why don't we just go ahead and run the stuff that we are already comfortable with, but just add layers on layers on layers to it? As the center, Justin Lawrence, was slow onto his feet and makes his way off to the sideline. And so Philippe Gagnon checks in.
Yeah, Gagnon slides over right from his guard spot. Not bad to have Christian Matt, the veteran, as your 6th man coming off the bench.
Caleb Evans hands it off inside. Jesuit Antwi. I had a feeling Antwi would refuse to go off the field. He came over after that long Fletcher run and did the old, are you good? You sure you're good? Because the ball's inside the 5-yard. You're sure you're good?
You look exhausted, buddy. Yeah, I'm just thinking of you.
So Fletcher watches on here after Antwi hits the carry on 1st and goal. And the ball down at the 1. Rambo, the lone receiver, split out wide to the top. Snap comes up to Evans. Flips his hips, gets it inside. Tyson walks in and adds to his touchdown tally in 2024. Makes it 5.
from the Argo secondary here. I think it was the safety, Royce Mechie, is trying to follow Philpott out into the flat. But watch from the right here. The offense would like to sell that as a rub, but that, my friends, is a pick.
But if the ball is completed behind the original line of scrimmage, which is...
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Here's the two-point conversion attempt for Caleb Evans. Looking to his right. Can't be hauled in for two. Shedler Furbius missed out on that one. He'll want it back. But they started Tyson Philpott on the line of scrimmage, right? Which is when you think, well, you're not going to run a swing with him when he's on the line. And then all of a sudden, he's bouncing backwards. And that gave them the touchdown. Running some of those picks that you speak of as Tyson Philpott was first in the CFL, tied for first in touchdown receptions with 4. And he now stands alone in the first game of Week 6.
Take a look at the big play on that drive to run from Walter Fletcher. That sets things up in close. Short run by Antwi, and there you see. Yeah, and good pickup by you, Marshall, to recognize where Philpott was when he caught that football, which allows Reggie White to make that key. Now we can call it a block, right?
Yes. Yeah, Caleb Evans wanted that one. Understandably, it would have been a cherry on top here at the end of the first half to get the two-point conversion and tie this ball game up. Remember that one as these teams go back and forth in the second half. 17-15. And now tons of running room. Right up the middle of the field. Is anyone going to touch Janarian Grant? Back-to-back weeks into the end zone. 102 yards. Janarian Grant for 6.
And how is that for the necessary response? The value of Janarian Grant in the return game. You wondered in the offseason, how are they going to replace Javon Leake after the monster season he had last year on special teams? Janarian Grant, a pretty good answer.
Janarian Grant adding some firepower to the Argos special teams unit, coached by Mickey Donovan. Byron Archambault, you saw him there from Montreal shaking his head on the sideline, wondering why did he get right up the middle here without really any contests, as it'll officially go 103 yards to the house from the 3.
Yeah, Janarian Grant untouched on this one. And you just see his conditioning coming along too as this season progresses. As there was no slowing down. The final 15, 20 yards on this one, he's still running away from people.
Watching on, and
so much for my touchdown.
Well, he did so much work to get down the field with Montreal's offense, and immediately Janarian Grant wipes that one off the board with his own major.
Family, I love you, baby.
There's a dance in the end zone. Having some fun Thursday night football as the Argos battling against the undefeated Montreal Alouettes. Scored on offense, defense with Winton McManus, and now special teams with Janarian Grant. It's probably going to take all 3 phases to beat this Alouettes club based on how their year has begun. Can James Fletcher Jr. answer? A solid return up near the 40-yard line that time, and so out comes Caleb Evans, who's got to be thinking, man, I had all these good vibes going on. We're in the end zone, and then it's a drop on the 2-point and a kickoff return touchdown for the Argos.
Yeah, and sometimes you kind of like these ones, not the situation that leads to it, but the chance to get back out there right away. It's not like he's been standing on the sidelines for a long time with the other team driving, getting cold, losing that momentum. But for him, just moments ago, he led a drive, touchdown drive, through a touchdown pass, and he just looks to keep that momentum going.
Evans over the middle. Throws it away from Winton McManus wisely. It's completed to Reggie White Jr. Had his big return here a few weeks ago against the Ottawa Redblacks. A couple of touchdowns and a big win over Ottawa that night. It was 47-21. Explosive plays from Cody Fajardo all game long. So he's done for the evening. Injury at the end of the first quarter if you're just joining us. So Caleb Evans will control with 10 seconds on the clock. Steps up in the pocket, gets it away into the feet of Charleston Rambo. Incomplete. And with 6 seconds here, this is likely all about managing the end of this half for Jason Moss and the Owls.
Yeah, you are not in a real hurry to kick the ball away knowing that the guy who'd be catching it at the other end of the field has already really hurt you tonight. Not just the touchdown, but providing a couple of big returns.
They just go with a short yardage sneak here, even at their own 50, and they will get the first down. Those interesting ones where you go, best option, yeah, you don't want to punt it away, you don't want to do something silly where you're throwing it backwards and burning time. And Jason Moss just tells his usual short yardage quarterback to go and get it. He does successfully. And the Argonauts up to the test so far here in week number 6 against the Alouettes as Evans, what should be the final play of this first half, checks it down underneath, and Cole Speaker stumbles his way across the 50 before he is brought down. So Montreal will get their choice of how they'd like to begin the second half after winning the toss to open up this ball game. They deferred Winton McManus all over the field. That's nothing new for 48.
Yeah, we talked about him off the top as basically the need for him to be the guy who balances the energy that Darnell Sankey provides to fuel the Montreal Alouettes, and Winton McManus, I think, matched it and more in the opening 30 minutes of this football game, Marsh.
When the Argos defense is at their best, he's usually their best defender. A lot of turnover on this roster, including 2 new starters and 5 new defenders since week number 4 in their matchup against these Alouettes.
All right, here we go.
As Kenzie Lalonde is with Winton McManus.
Well, Winton, let's just start with Janarian's run there, 102 yards. What was going through your mind as you saw him?
We knew it was time for him to break 1, maybe 2, maybe a third. He's got a lot of game left, but we knew we were going to get 1.
For yourself, you got the first major of the game. How early did you read that play to intercept it and get the touchdown?
Just going through my reads, seeing it all break down, slow motion, just trying to make a play for my team.
Best luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Kate, over to you and the panel.
Well, back alongside Jim Parker, David Sanchez, Milt Siegel, take a breath after that second quarter. After the first quarter, we were all sitting here. We were like, what the heck are we going to talk about? And the biggest storyline has to be, of course, Cody Fajardo going down. And credit to Caleb Evans. Of course, he had the bad pick there to Winton McManus. But after that, he settled in. And then Janarian Grant, I mean, the whole thing went off the rails in the second quarter. But Milt, seeing Cody grab that hamstring and so much talk about the short week, playing Saturday, playing today, I mean, it's a concern.
Yeah, and you hate to start off our half talking about that, but it's the biggest story of the game so far. You're talking about the MOP candidate, the man who's led these Montreal Alouettes to 14 straight victories, and now he has this injury. We heard his head coach during the week says football was not meant to be played every 5 days, so I'm sure Jason Moss is thinking that this is the reason why his quarterback got hurt. We don't know that, but this is significant to this team because we don't know how long it's going to last. You know, those hamstring injuries are very tricky. You think you're healthy, then you come back out and you strain it again. So they have to be careful with this. The one thing they have going in their favor is they're going into a bye week, so they have a little bit more time to determine when he's going to be back.
The great Hugh Campbell used to always say, or at least happened to me one time, with the hamstring, when you feel 100%, take one more week because you don't know that fast movement you're not used to.
Well, Caleb Evans comes in and immediately gives Toronto a touchdown with throwing that interception, and McManus a great play. But then he comes back, 2nd and 10, and he completes this ball to Rambo, and then he comes back, gets blitzed, and takes the hit and throws a strike. That was a big play for him. He then brought him down the field again, and again, a touchdown to Phil Pott, who's building up a lot of those this year. So, again, great job by a quarterback coming off. Yeah, he made the mistake, but he didn't let it get to him. He took him down and got the score.
He made the mistake, but that was a great play by Wynn McManus. But can we, and that's an Argo touchdown, can we somehow find the film? Can someone roll earlier, pregame, you guys talking trash?
Yeah, of course.
Somebody find it up there, please. I'm taking the Argos defense at plus 500.
Wow.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter the odds. If you want to win this game, just pick who's going to score a touchdown.
Why you keep doing that?
Why?
Guys, learn how to play the game properly. Plus 500. It's a long shot, but I'm swinging for the fence. I'm a little bit behind, as you'll tell by the leaderboard. I got to swing for the fences here. I mean...
Got it right.
Davis, we're all proud of you.
There it is. Wynn McManus. That was a good job. He kind of hit behind there and made a good play. Wynn McManus is a really smart football player. There's no question about it. That's a tough mistake. And, you know, all jokes aside, one thing, and you guys said it before the game, and we say it all the time, when you're the backup quarterback, try not to lose the game. And that's, you know, I think one of the things, and I don't necessarily believe in that, because I think when you're a quarterback, you come in the game, you try to win the game and do what you can do and make plays. And I think there are circumstances in which you'll have to try to go win the game.
Right.
And depending on the team around you, there's circumstances in which you need to, you know, just not lose it. But one thing, the Argos are allowing 60% defensively this year, 60% on second down conversions. That's the worst in the league. They got to be better on second down.
When he gets the interception, it's called a toothpick, just not a regular pick, huh?
Oh.
He should brand that. I would, honestly. And you know what, too? Janarian Grant, I mean, every single time this guy has the football, it's magic. It really, I mean, what a pickup for the Argos at this point. And you know he's trying to make a point, too. But this is just a thing of beauty, Coach.
Just incredible. I mean, right through the middle. And then the acceleration right there. You don't see that in players. I mean, it just...
You like him. He's the best returner.
I'm just thinking that.
I just thought he was on the street for a couple weeks, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they picked him up at the end. And what a phenomenal pickup. And I think he's the best in the league at what he does.
And when you have a young quarterback, too, and he can create field position and score like that, that's big for these Toronto Argonauts. So a great pickup.
And we talked about Cameron Dukes and how big this game is. And again, 9 of 10, 82 yards.
Solid.
No turnovers.
Solid. That's the key.
That's the key.
Congrats on the TD pick. I know it was plus 500, which is nice. I'll tell you this,
Congratulating him.
I don't want to brag, but Philpott got his touchdown. I think a 4 for 4 at this point.
What about your girl, Helen?
You know what? Let's talk about Helen. Helen Mullen of Vancouver, BC. You have just won groceries for a year thanks to Save on Foods' $1 million touchdown to win. Congratulations. And great news. If there is another kickoff return for a touchdown, come on, Grant, in today's game, you could win $1 million.
Yes, Helen, if you
come on, Helen. Hopefully another good one on Friday Night Football. The Calgary Stampeders coming off that heartbreaking loss to Montreal. Winnipeg coming off their first win of the season. Zach Collaro's practicing this week. Brady Oliveira coming off a very nice game as well. You can see it 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on TSN. But first we have to get through this game first. What a fantastic second quarter that was. 24-15 for the Toronto Argonauts. We will get you back to Montreal for second half action right after this.
First half stats here in Montreal. 24-15, the Argos lead after a big return touchdown by Janarian Grant near the end of the first half. But trying to answer back, it's Caleb Evans. He's fieldside with Kenzie Lalonde.
Well, Caleb, let's just kind of go back to connecting with Rambo there on that touchdown. Just how good did that one feel?
I felt good. I saw the 0 and then just hung in the pocket. We discussed it earlier in the week, and he ran it to perfection, and the play was the result.
Moving on, settling in here, did you talk to Fajardo, establish a game plan here for yourself moving forward to finish this game?
Yeah, we talked in the locker room, got to see him a little, and it's probably going to be the same game plan, you know. Just got to execute it and, you know, get drives going, get touchdowns, and help the team out.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
As Jason Moss watching on and trying to build out a game plan for his club in this second half with Caleb Evans at the controls. And obviously there were some ups and some major downs, and the biggest down was this one. Gave it away to Whit McManus.
Yeah, a tough way to start things off for Caleb Evans, but as Jim Barker talked about, you got to like the way he recovered from that early adversity. Learn from it as you saw him throw it away on a screen a little bit later when things didn't shake down the way he wanted, and led his team on a couple of big scoring drives.
Going over the play band there to see exactly how they've scripted it out. As the Alouettes, they did win the coin toss, deferred in the first half. They decided to receive here to open up the second. Thought they would, not just because they're trailing, get an extra possession, but also because Jason Moss, I would expect, is going to be very aggressive trying to maintain this winning streak. It's not about the streak, it's just about continuing to build on what they've created at the start of this season. As Liram Hairolahu kicks it away, and the Owls get their first shot in the second half to get on the board. James Letcher Jr., big hit on specials, and right away down the field. Is that Deandrick Hansen? Well, he's done that a time or two before as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
Yeah, Hansen absolutely swallows up the Montreal return of Letcher on this one. Beats his block, gets in front of him and wraps up. Big play to start the second half on special teams for Deandrick Hansen.
Seem to remember a certain play in the 2019 Grey Cup. Hard to believe that was 5 years ago. But on a kickoff return for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Hansen did almost exactly that. It's the global, arguably the most successful and well-known global in the CFL's global program. Makes the play. Caleb Evans begins the second half. Throwing to the left-hand side and off the mark that time. A little bit of pressure down low around his legs, incomplete. And it will be 2nd and 10.
Every team in the Canadian Football League talks about next man up, and we just continue to play the way we always play. See Derek Parrish delivering the hit. But it's the responsibility next guy to be ready and come in and do the job. But always a challenge to not want to tweak things a little bit for your quarterback.
Deshaun Amos went hunting for the football that time, got a clean run in on Evans. You can see him lining it up as the co-defensive coordinators of the Toronto Argonauts dialed up pressure and bring down Evans. It's 3rd.
Yeah, you mentioned Kevin Iben, Will Fields. See Deshaun Amos from the secondary getting involved. Initially gets washed away, but does a nice job retracing his steps back to the line of scrimmage to track down the Alouette QB.
Kevin Iben talked to us this week about who's actually dialing up the play calls on defense, and basically said, well, we'll let that sit and you guys can guess. They got their own way of devising game plans and building it out with 2 people on the helm, as now Janarian Grant goes for a run down the sideline after a 55-yard punt. Nice return from Grant and Cam Dukes. His first half of action, it's looking a lot more like the first couple of games. High efficiency and very little risk.
Yeah, and the Argos avoided Cameron Dukes being in a position where he was forced to overextend himself. Feeling a need to force plays, make things happen. Janarian Grant and Winton McManus supply points on special teams and defense respectively, which is huge. But also, looking at Grant in the return game in particular, providing Dukes with good field position.
Certainly helps the move as you get things going. Deontay McMahon on the edge, right on cue, Wayne to the outside, and Toronto's got something going with this underneath passing. I love the quote that we got this week from Cam Dukes, where he basically just said, yeah, people are watching a lot of film on me, but I'm watching a lot of film on them. It goes both ways, don't forget that.
Yeah, that's it, right? This theory that, you know, a few starts in, teams have enough film on you that they start to figure you out as a young quarterback in this league. But yeah, Cameron Dukes acknowledging that, but saying, yeah, I'm figuring them out at the same time. It's not a one-way street.
Credited Montreal's defense for being a group of disruptors. Well, he's not going to give him a chance to disrupt his throwing here as he gets it away before the rush can get there. And it will be a first down. Creative play call that time from Ryan Dinwiddie and the Argos on 2nd and short.
Runs out to the right side of the field. Get 3 men out in front, blocking, basically taking your short yardage game out wide.
Little game of 3-on-3 here in Montreal now. Hard count. And it looks like Mustafa Johnson was the Alouette that jumped, but did somebody from the Argos left side of their line help him jump across the line of scrimmage?
Was he encouraged?
The finger pointing.
Procédure illégale, Toronto numéro 66. C'est une pénalité de 5 verges. On va reprendre le premier essai. Procedure, Toronto 66. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
The left tackle, Isaiah Cage. Watch for his movement early. You saw him flinch down to the inside. Mustafa Johnson reacts.
Looked like Cage jumped on the hand tap of Ryan Hunter as they got to go with the silent count here in Montreal with the horns and the crowd into it, trailing in week 6 as Cam Dukes rolls to his right, slides down just across the 55. And he gets a pretty decent chunk back that time. It'll be second down and about 6 to go.
Yeah, and this part of the process for Cameron Dukes when we talk about not forcing things. In that instance, he's scrambling. He's got his eyes downfield looking to see if there's a shot to be had there off the scramble. But when there's not, yeah, take that chunk, 3, 4, 5 yards. Put your team in as good a position as possible to fight on second down.
Goldthorpe with the late signal into his defense. They'll send the pressure, tight as wall, blitzes. Dukes fades back to his left, waits, finds the open receiver, Richie Sindani, and it's right at the first down marker. I'm not sure Sindani knew exactly where he was, and he turns around and just begs, "Can I please have the first down? Please."
Yeah, the officials feeling stingy tonight on the spot. For not looking, Richie, it's going to be 3rd and inches.
Dukes sneaks it forward, does pick up the first down. Just a terrible feeling as a receiver to catch, turn around and realize the stick is laying on the ground and you're half a yard shy.
Yeah.
But they pick it up regardless as Sindani, now a veteran Canadian, 7th year in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, good late season pickup for the Toronto Argonauts last season after he had started the year in Hamilton, where he reconnected with his old Calgary pivot, Bo Levi Mitchell. As the Argos have traded away Curly Gittens Jr., now dealing with injuries to Deshaun Brissett, Tommy Neal, and David Ungerer.
Dukes trying to evade pressure. Look at the quickness on Dukes to get away from 2 and now 3. And great to see number 19, Jeffrey Canton-Arcou, back out on the field as well. If you were with us in the first half, you saw had his knee rolled up on by Rasheed Bailey blocking on a running play.
Dukes, much like on the touchdown pass to Coates, he's showing off some of those change of direction skills.
Fumble! And it's on the ground! Darnell Sankey on it! Dan Adeboboye and Cam Dukes coughed it up. Miscommunication. The very first name that we mentioned on the show tonight, Darnell Sankey, 13-1 in his career as an Alouette. The only loss against these Argos. He's trying to prevent a second with a fumble recovery here early on in the second half. There is Darnell Sankey sitting here during the break saying, yeah, it's a game now. It's time to go. And that fits with this. It was a great quote that he gave us earlier this week, Dwayne.
Yeah, absolutely. This sums up Darnell Sankey. I'm just in love with the game. The process, the training, there is nothing else like it.
Well, the game loves him back as he scrambles to go and make plays like this so very often.
So those 2 middle linebackers, dueling backs, each on the board with 1 turnover.
The smile on Sankey's face to be trailing and make a play defensively. This guy does love it as he hands it off. Does Caleb Evans to Walter Fletcher. Spun around and pulled down. Trying to get that Alouettes running game going once again as the offensive line for the Alouettes. Justin Lawrence back out there as well after getting dinged in the first half. So a pair of talented young Canadians with Jeffrey Canton-Arcou back on defense as well on the field.
And the Alouettes, we talk about the depth, and I know experience on the offensive line has been a bit of a theme in the Canadian Football League this year, and obviously the benefit that goes along with that for offensive football teams.
Lawrence identifying the front here for Caleb Evans, who has to step away from pressure. Parrish hot on his tail, and this time they will get to him. Looks like he might have scrambled forward just enough to not have it go down as a sack, but the motor on 97, you can tell right from the very first snap of 2024, Derek Parrish had a chance to be a pretty good player.
Yeah, and as Derek Parrish kind of finds his way in the Canadian Football League, that's going to be big for a team that's missing last year's sack leader. Flora Rimolade had 10 sacks last season. He's on the 6-game injured list right now, affording Parrish an opportunity to play a little bit more, and I find he shows up a little bit more and more every week.
In tandem there with Robbie Smith, the Wilfrid Laurier grad. Made the play as well, so Joseph Zima will kick this one away. The Alouettes, 8th in the CFL in punting average, is 44 yards per boot, and Jerry Grant's going for a run again. Can he take this one to the house? Runs through the waiting arms of Zima, who had to slow him down just enough to make sure number 3 wasn't going to end up once again into the end zone. Another monster return from an Argos group that have had few and far between of explosive plays on offense, but special teams giving the juice to the double blue. Janarian Grant almost had another big return for a touchdown. His 8th career punt return touchdown last week against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, tied now for 4th all-time and quickly moving up the charts.
I mean, this is why the Toronto Argonauts went out and got Janarian Grant. Good special teams unit. Just needed a dynamic returner to cap it off, and Janarian Grant has been getting it done these last couple weeks. Touchdowns in back-to-back weeks and having a huge impact on tonight's ball game in particular.
I'm always interested when you see players like Janarian Grant that just consistently, every time they touch the football in the return game, are a threat to score. What makes them so special? Because they just make fast people not look fast.
Yes.
They're just faster than all of the other fast people that are here on a CFL field. The acceleration to pull away from people, mentioned at halftime by our panel. As Katie Davis, they originally called for the card, and then he made his way to his feet and jogged off. So he was injured on that Janarian Grant return. And now Grant will watch on after the stellar field position he has gifted his quarterback, Cam Dukes, with the ball resting at the 46-yard line of the Alouettes, starting in the opposition's end. Never a bad idea in the CFL. Usually leads to success. Will it here? They go back to the ground game. As it is, Kadeem Carey churning the legs, getting a nice piece on first down. They'll go for 7.
Yeah, very solid run on that one. Kind of classic Kadeem Carey, getting downhill, the offensive line, putting bodies on bodies. Allowing Kadeem Carey to do his thing.
Yoga master Kadeem Carey.
Yes.
As we learned. Wakes up, does it in the morning, sometimes does it in the evening. See if he can stretch his way all the way for the first down here. Yes, he will. Just enough.
Take a look here at Kadeem Carey. Doing what Kadeem Carey does. Nice cut there to find the gap, find the first down. In those sticks for the Toronto Argonauts.
First down, Cam Dukes. Looking to the secondary and sails this one high over the top of Rasheed Bailey. Yeah, that was just a miss. Second incompletion of the ball game. Well, that one was way off.
Yeah, missed the shot there, but I like to work at Kadeem Carey on this with a couple of big carries to move the sticks. But demonstrating he doesn't mind doing the dirty work either. That's a tough matchup with Darnell Sankey, but takes him down on the blitz pickup.
Not sure I want to poke the bear on Sankey there, wake him up with a little chop up, but Dukes steps around the pressure, looks downfield, Votto with the backhand shovel, and Isaac Berglund wraps him up from behind. Ryan Hunter there to pick up his quarterback. They'll spot it at the 30-yard line. And so third down, and the kicking unit comes off the sideline here for the Argonauts.
Yeah, Therese Beverette came off the bottom of the screen on the blitz, and they got corralled. It appeared by the left tackle, Cage, preventing him from getting to the QB.
Haven't said Beverette's name all that much this evening. He's been pretty busy throughout the start of the season. 46 total defensive plays in 5 games and leads in total tackles across the CFL with 34. Here's Liam Haralalu. 7 of 7 coming in tonight from under 40 yards. And tag another one on to his tally on the season. As the Argos and Alouettes go back and forth, Cam Dukes thought about it. Held on. And Adiemi Berglund made the play. Cody Fajardo with his 12th career game-winning drive last Saturday against the Calgary Stampeders, but he didn't make it into the second quarter after this play earlier on tonight. Immediately grabbed for the back of his right leg, went down the tunnel. They actually put the visual block up in front of that tunnel. He got some work done, and he's out on the sideline here, coaching up Caleb Evans, looks like, for the remainder of the evening, trying to make sure everybody's on the same page. And to Cody's credit, despite being injured and unable to continue tonight, he is pretty active on the sideline right now. As Evans goes to work, looks over the middle of the field, tight window throw, and Tyson Philpott holds on and won't go down. Gets a little hopper down to there as well, and Philpott fired up in front of the Alouettes bench.
A little rugby scrum broke out there. Philpott. Turns it upfield.
26 yards for Tyson Philpott. That's a hard throw, Dwayne. In traffic, over the D-line.
Yes, sir.
Crossing route. Nice spot by Caleb Evans. This time, quick little fake flip, goes back to the screen game underneath, and Philpott loses his helmet. The bucket goes flying.
Yeah, good pursuit there from inside the box. Argo's well prepared. The hitch screen, slip screen, bubble screen. Anything that creates these yards after catch opportunities for the likes of Philpott. We often see it with Keon Julian Grant as well. He being out of the lineup, but the Argo defense well prepared in this instance to get there.
And Royce Mechie unintentionally gave a little pop to the mouth of Tyson Philpott after his helmet came off. Now the ball's up in the air. Evans thought about knocking it down himself, but it falls harmlessly to the Percival Molson turf. Problem is, it's 3rd and 9 as Fajardo talks it over on the sidelines.
Yeah, we'll try and piece that together as you saw a couple important parts to this Alouette offense in Fajardo and Keon Julian Grant. No doubt making Jason Moss cringe a little bit to see those guys in street clothes in this critical East Division matchup.
Alouettes beating the Argos 30-20 earlier this season at BMO Field in Toronto. Last time the Alouettes lost September 15th, 2023. And as Montreal tries to carve their way back into this game, Jose Maltos gets out the big boot and drops it through. He missed an easier one early on, but in for David Cote, out with injury since warm-up last week. A no-doubter from Maltos. What a kick from the Global. 27-18, Argos still lead. Jose Maltos with the big field goal here to close down the gap to the Toronto Argonauts as the Kickers, tons of success early on this season. With more, let's go down to Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, Marshall, in the last 2 games, Liam Haralalu for the Argos has contributed to 21 of their 43 points. He's 2 for 2 here tonight, and you look at him mastering that skill of kicking. He actually leaned on golfers during his time at the University of Western in the sense that they have similar mechanics, muscle memory, keeping her head down. Every year, around twice a year, he reads the book Golf is Not a Game of Perfect by Dr. Bob Rotella. Helps him overcome setbacks and the mental resilience you need. And also, while he was at Western, he took it one step further and pursued his master's in sports management and leadership. And for his dissertation, he wrote a 60-page paper on the mental preparation of specialists. Dwayne Ford, I'm still waiting to read your dissertation from the University of Western.
Keep waiting, Kenzie.
I was just going to ask how much you had to pay Kenzie to do the weekly sponsored Mustang section.
Well, you know, Kenzie moves up in the rankings, the reporter rankings, with 2 Western mentions in one hit.
Hors-jeu, Montréal, numéro 98. C'est une pénalité de 5 verges. On reprend le premier essai. Offside, Montreal 98. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
Liram's journey through the Canadian Football League, the NFL, testing his skills down there for quite some time, and he is dedicated to his craft. There's no doubt about that, to Kenzie's point. Joining the game from the sideline. Ironically, he and Dylan Wynn got into it earlier, and Wynn comes off the field here as Dukes, a little bit of a high snap, loads it up and takes a vertical shot, and this one's up for grabs and incomplete. They were trying to go to Coxie, was one-on-one with Kabian Ento.
Yeah, and when we spoke to Noel Thorpe last week, Ento was one of the guys he talked about is really growing as we look at that matchup at the top of the screen. There you see Ento, the field side corner. Coxie out wide, gives him that double move. And just talked about how well and how much improved Kabian Ento is in coverage. And you think this guy was pretty good in his rookie CFL season last year, but has grown even more as he's become accustomed to the motion, the dimensions of the field, and so on.
Well, second and 5. Kadeem Carey gets the call. Had to make his way to the 50-yard line, as he'll try to find the buckle on the side of that helmet and strap it back on for 3rd and 1 as they'll send out the heavies and go for it.
Yeah, kind of a no-brainer in this part of the field. You got an opportunity to keep the ball, keep the Montreal defense on the field. Again, you know that group is a little bit banged up. Want to try and wear him down every chance you get.
Dukes goes left. Looks like he's got the 50-yard line. As he's picked up by Ryan Hunter there. Interesting journey for Ryan Hunter as he helps push Dukes across there. A goalie in the early days.
Yeah, former hockey goalie. You know, and I mean, we knew the trend was towards bigger goalies, but I don't think 300 pounds is quite what the NHL has in mind.
Why not?
Yeah.
Stack the pads at 300. Who says no?
Yeah, a young man from North Bay who moved on his own to Buffalo, New York to play high school football in the American system. That translated into a scholarship to Bowling Green University in the MAC Conference.
Great player, great to have him here in the CFL. Is big contact in between the tackles on that play. Kadeem Carey pounded it alongside Ryan Hunter. But yeah, being with the Chiefs and also kind of picking the brain of Mitch Morse, used to be a center with the Chiefs, moved on to play in Buffalo as well, and trying to up his game, being around a lot of guys from the National Football League and bring those skills here to the CFL.
Yeah, a lot of very successful veterans. I have to say, we had a bit of a stepbrothers moment. Did we just become best friends? Talking to Ryan as he brought up throwing a brisket on his smoker at home.
Yeah, you weren't impressed by the chicken cutlet, but he got the smoker conversation going. That's when the magic happens. A big sack. Mustafa Johnson, and the battle continues as the Moose makes the play. And Noel Thorpe loves to see his defense get after the quarterback, especially on 2nd and long. Johnson wins the battle here.
Yeah, second man from the bottom of the screen, just inside Darnell Sankey on this one. Mustafa Johnson has really established himself in this, his 3rd CFL season, as one of the most dominant interior defensive linemen in the league. Cameron Dukes talked about the disruptors on that Alouette defense. Number 94 certainly among them.
John Haggerty will kick it away. James Fletcher Jr. has been close a couple of times here tonight, but a beautifully placed punt will fall inside the 50. A flag is out as well, and that might help the Alouettes' cause because that kick and coverage was elite from the Toronto Argonauts. That's the end of the third quarter. We will update the flag for you when we return to begin the fourth. The Montreal Alouettes, 10 straight wins in the regular season, 13 including the playoff, their longest stretch ever. But the Argos trying to end the party here and even out the season series. We'll find out who takes it in Q4. The numbers after 3 quarters of play. The only one that really matters right now to the Montreal Alouettes after all the success they've had, 5-0 to start this season. They're trailing. This is pretty uncommon territory for a Montreal club that's found a way regardless of the situation. If Montreal is going to get back in this thing, Dwayne, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is going to be exactly as they would do it with Cody Fajardo in the lineup, quite frankly. I mean, look for Caleb Evans to put the ball in the hands of people like Tyson Philpott. Cole Speaker had that terrific first half. I think they've got to get it back to him. Charleston Rambo got going for a little while as well. So let the playmakers make some plays for him. Walter Fletcher's been a forgotten guy in this ballgame too.
And Ryan Dinwiddie wandering down to go see Nick Arbuckle and have a discussion with him. So perhaps we'll see Arbuckle coming in, as there was a legal block against Montreal at the end of the third quarter on the punt return. And they begin with an incompletion as well. So now 2nd and 10, backed up in your own end and trying to get back into this ball game, trailing by 9.
Yeah, and this is a huge second down for the Montreal Alouettes as you think about if Toronto's able to force a quick 2-and-out here, and particularly if it's a 2-and-out with no gain on this second down. Think about what the field position looks like in what is already a 2-score football game.
Royce Mechie paroling the back end. As now Caleb Evans on a quarterback draw from his own 10-yard line, steps up and is tackled right there. So 3rd down, 2-and-out for the Toronto Argonauts defense, and they will get the football back, and we will see whether or not Nick Arbuckle is indeed going to come out and play quarterback in the 4th quarter to close this thing down.
Yeah, that certainly looked like a little more than a friendly hello from head coach to backup QB that we saw moments ago. But interesting that Argos up 9 if they are contemplating a change, admittedly. A couple of touchdowns coming from specials and defense. But
Joseph Zima will kick this from his own end zone. Jerry Grant's going to start from the 55-yard line, sets it up, and heads down the sideline. Josh Renantwi, great job keeping him outside. As Cam Dukes does come back out onto the field, so the conversation that time maybe from Coach Dinwiddie was, hey, if we're going to shut this thing down, I need you to keep your eyes on blank, right? We need the best intel possible from Nick Arbuckle and use his eyes to our advantage even without him on the field right now. Dukes begins with a handoff to Kadeem Carey. Again, that quick jump cut, stutter step. And the blocking off that left-hand side of the O-line for the Argos, getting it done with a big gain of 9 on 1st down.
Great way to start, and it's, we see Nick Arbuckle on the sidelines. I also suspect sometimes that communication between he and Ryan Dinwiddie, who go back to their time together in Calgary, that I think sometimes Arbuckle has become the conduit between Dinwiddie and Dukes, as Cameron Dukes has talked to us extensively over the course of this season about how much he appreciates having the veteran quarterback there and his influence, his wisdom that he's been able to share with the young guy.
As they show run here, handed off, and somehow Carey got past the knifing edge defender. Looked like Tyrese Beverett was the one that timed it up perfectly, but Dukes made him make a decision real quick and made the right one.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of the impact that affects Tyrese Beverett on this play. You're going to see him shooting in off the right side, and he kind of overruns the ball carrier. And part of this is we've seen what Dukes can do with his feet and his change of direction, what a threat he is. And so Beverett is very aware of maintaining his contained position on that.
High snap pops up, and they'll hand it off again in between the tackles. And the Argos, full believers in the running game right now. Tyrese Beverett asked Walter Fletcher earlier this week, who's the one guy in your defense you would not want to see? Just see, Bev.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with that guy.
Yeah, he just has a knack for getting involved think he and Lorenzo Malden, the guys that the Hamilton Tiger Cats may look at as the ones who got away. A couple pretty good defensive players who they developed that ended up with divisional rivals. Beverett, he's been the guy dropping back to cover the safety responsibility a lot in this ball game, in this interchangeable parts defense at Noel Hook.
Dukes looks into coverage, completes it, and breaking across the field, Tavares Daniels with the ball in his hands, and it'll be another first down for the Toronto Argonauts. But you're right, Dwayne, Marc-Antoine Dequoy being out tonight. We've been tracking who's been playing in the quote-unquote free safety spot, because you can slap a name on the roster, but it doesn't necessarily mean where they're going to be playing. And it looks like Bryce Cosby is leading the way right now. About 15 snaps with Tyrese Beverett, Najee Murray all getting some looks.
Yeah, and this is always kind of the thing for the Owls defensively is moving people around, different people doing different things. As Noel Thorne said, you know, Tyrese Beverett is listed as a will linebacker, but that doesn't explain at all what he does in our defense.
Keeping the running backs fresh, Deontay McMahon gets a touch here as we roll towards 10 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter, opening up week number 6, and Montreal with their backs against their own goal line here, deep down inside the score zone.
Again, the exchange of field position on those last possessions kind of looming large as Dukes and the Argos look to take advantage of a short field here.
2nd and 7. This is the down and distance. Montreal has feasted defensively throughout the year. They'll send the pressure off the edge. Dukes gets it away. Completed. McMahon cuts back to the 10-yard line. And is wrapped up there by Jeffrey Canton-Arcou. And what will the Argonauts do here is wandering off the sideline for a second was the field goal unit.
We saw Tyrese Beverett turning that free run into the backfield off the other side moments ago. Here he brings it from the defensive left. Dukes releasing the ball out to the right for a short pickup.
Ryan Dinwiddie on the call sheet. Cam Dukes communicates to the other 11. As Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund eyes down a sack. If he can go and get the quarterback in this snap, will never come up. Did they just go hard count and catch that edge pressure that Tyrese Beverett has been lining up snap after snap?
Yeah, I mean, this is great heads up, right? A response to what you see. You recognize that one of the most...
Montréal, numéro 26. C'est une pénalité de 5 verges. Ça donne un premier essai à Toronto. Offside, Montreal 26. It's a 5-yard penalty. Makes it a first down for Toronto.
Recognize that one of the most disruptive of the disruptors, left side offensive left there is Beverett, is timing up your snap counts, right? He's reading your snap counts. He's trying to use that to his advantage. So you use that against him by changing up the count. Great job by the Argos O.
And you can tell what Cam Dukes was doing in the huddle when we had that shot of him saying, I'm not snapping it. Nobody moved. This time they'll look to hand it off. Deontay McMahon driving to the end zone. Touchdown Argos as they extend their lead and look to end the Owls' hot start to 2024.
Well, you think of Deontay McMahon as a scat back type, but he shows some power and balance on this one. Running through a tackle on his way into the end zone. Fighting off contact to add to the Argos lead.
The Montreal Alouettes this season allowing 19.8 points per game, best in the Canadian Football League. 8 touchdowns they've allowed all year defensively. As this kick is good. Well, now they've given up 34 points in the offense without Cody Fajardo, trying to find answers, but having trouble keeping pace with the Argos ground attack. This time it's Deontay McMahon into the end zone. Cam Dukes loves it. A big touchdown drive for the Toronto Argonauts. It was a quick one as well. 8 plays, 44 yards, 458, and so much of it done on the ground, but a couple of nice snags as Cam Dukes getting into a pretty solid rhythm here in the second half.
Yeah, and taking advantage again of good field position, short field. They can kind of play their game, and a big part of their game was relying on that three-headed monster in the backfield. Kadeem Carey, of course, carrying the load, but you saw the talents of Deonte McMahon on that one. We've seen a little bit of Daniel Adeboboye as well in this ball game, but the run game was big in that most recent Toronto possession.
James Letcher Jr. returns this with Sean Thomas Erlington out in front of him. Letcher gets to the second level and had a chance to turn the corner if it were not for the talented coverage of Jack Cassar out of Carleton. Alouettes football when we return. Men's final Sunday. How did we get there? Euro's almost done.
I
Copa
remember
America?
you're a
What's
big
going
tennis
on?
guy, eh? Former high school tennis star.
Allegedly. Caleb Evans looks down the sideline, intercepted, picked off. The Argonauts go the other direction. It's Benji Franklin as a flag comes down, and Franklin gets wrapped up. Oh, the always painful interception coming out of the timeout as Evans just missed the mark, and Franklin took advantage.
Yeah, and this is a case with the Argos having extended that lead of Caleb Evans having to step outside his comfort zone, trying to force something, trying to make the big play.
Après l'interception, il y a un bloc illégal contre Toronto, numéro 19. Les pénalités divergent. Ça va être premier essai pour Toronto. After the interception, there's an illegal block. Toronto, number 19. It's the 10-yard penalty. It's going to be first down.
It's your classic case of trying to find a window on a throw that just isn't there.
Yeah, I thought he had it when Franklin kind of stuttered his feet there, but the DB making a nice recovery. So in that instance, the receiver had to slow down as he was in a window when help came over the top for Franklin. He's able to tighten down that window as the receiver slows down in response to the high defender.
The Argos offense now an incomplete pass as it was a shovel forward trying to get it into the hands of Janarian Grant. Didn't try to hand it off, so it falls to the turf incomplete, but crossing the wires there, and it'll be 2nd and 10.
Yeah, the Argos looking to keep what you think is going to be a high percentage play with the shovel. Grant coming from the top of your screen across the formation. Little misdirection, but the timing is a bit off there in the backfield as you saw.
Dial up here. Darnell Sankey in the middle of this Alouettes defense. Stares down Cam Dukes. They'll flip it outside. Caught Rasheed Bailey. Trying to get to the sideline. Big contact coming in at the end of the play as Najee Murray and that entire Montreal defense were read the riot act a little bit by Noel Thorpe after giving up the touchdown to Deonte McMahon just a few minutes ago and trying to respond with some physicality that Thorpe loves.
Yeah, a little bit of energy here. Ento on the corner, Murray coming from his halfback spot. Flying around a little bit. Rasheed Bailey went into fullback mode there, lowering the shoulder. Gets close to the first down, but it's going to be 3rd and inches.
Thorpe again signaling everybody in. As Dukes does stay in, Brian Scott and Nick Arbuckle, the other quarterbacks on this Argos roster. The Dukes handling short yardage. Goes right side. Slides, and he had visions for a moment there of a little Tommy Stevens Calgary Stampeders jaunt down the sideline.
Yeah, running laterally, looking for that soft spot. But Duke's recognizing the situation. Knowing here, most important thing, just get through that hole and get the few inches that you need for the first down. Offensive line doing a nice job taking care of business here.
Poor Kadeem Carey is a running back. It doesn't matter what the play is, you end up on the ground. Run through by his quarterback, but he won't complain. Fresh set of downs and an opportunity to maybe get a touch. Dukes looks his way, right down that hash again, north-south, and the Argos ground game pounding away in this 4th quarter successfully.
Yeah, Kadeem Carey rewarded for doing the dirty work. One play earlier, and here again. That Argonaut offensive line. Dejon Allen doing a nice job, the fullback. Albert Awashe on that one as well.
Of Calgary gets over the football here as they'll go back to the ground game, and Carey gets everything he can once again, puts the head down and rolls his way towards the 35-yard line. As now Carey signals to the sideline, and off the Argos bench comes Deonta McMahon, the touchdown scorer on the last Argos drive.
And a few weeks back, Milt Stiegel talked about Rasheed Bailey as one of the most complete receivers in the CFL, and this is a big part of what Milt was saying, is the willingness to block, where sometimes teams will have to bring in a fullback or bring in an extra offensive lineman to take care of some of those blocking responsibilities. Rasheed Bailey looks after that for the Argos.
Late Sunday, they actually used Dan Adeboboye here on second and short. The little bit more stoutly built Adeboboye puts his shoulders down and gets another fresh set of downs for the Argonauts here as we roll inside 4 minutes remaining. And the Alouettes and their winning streak looking ever more in danger.
Yeah, the plot thickens as the rivalry grows between these two teams. As we've mentioned, the Argos, September of last year in Toronto at BMO Field, handed the Alouettes their most recent loss.
In ball control mode here. Grabs a couple more yards, but this really does set up a tremendous East Division for the remainder of the season, specifically between these two teams, as they each get wins in each other's house if it finishes this way. And you start to think about the implications of this season series still being alive towards the back end of the schedule. And obviously the recent history last year in the playoffs, with Montreal upsetting Toronto at BMO Field in dramatic fashion. Second and long, Dukes gonna hold on to it, goes to the air, skips this one into the feet. As Noel Thorpe asking for the spot back a couple of yards, as Mackay Polk makes the grab, rarely used so far this season, but fitting in nicely with this Argonauts receiving group. They'll spot the football as we've hit the 3-minute warning in Montreal. Dukes trying to close it out. Did they get enough to move the sticks? Looks like it'll be just shy, third and short. Beautiful evening here in Montreal. Fireworks going off just a couple of minutes away, a couple blocks away. And not necessarily a celebratory mood for the Montreal Alouettes. If they can't get their way back into this one, trying to on third and short here get a stop, but it looks as though Toronto once again does get a first down. Cam Dukes staying in the short yardage package.
Yeah, and it was interesting to watch Dukes give a little bit of a jab step to the outside, as we've seen him on a couple of these short yardage plays. Sort of threaten the edge before picking a hole to go north-south. That time he fakes outside and just stays right in behind his center.
16 of 20 for 131 yards right now, but making the plays he needed to. Not big yardage totals, but plenty of this. Trying to be creative and extend plays as Dukes gets wrapped up. Adeyemi Berglund pulls him down, and it will be second and long.
And the big thing for Toronto, when you consider that combination of score and time on the clock, right? Already a 16-point game. We're approaching the 2-minute mark in this football game. Another score, even if just a field goal, puts you in pretty good stead. That it's just about protecting the football, not doing anything too high risk at this point in the game.
Deonta McMahon back into the ball game alongside Cam Dukes. They'll pump and quarterback draw right up the middle. Dukes with some breathing room and slides down. go super conservative there, just burn some clock and kick a field goal and grind this one out. And different ideas from Ryan Dinwiddie.
Yeah, well, I like the play call because I think the conservative aspect of this one, Marsh, is we're not going to risk a bobbled exchange. Yeah. We're not going to risk an interception. You know, Cam, if you can get a first down, great. If they stuff you at the line of scrimmage, that's fine too. We're within Liram Hairualu's range. But limit the risk.
Here, he'll get wrapped up. And not surprising to see Isaac Adeyemi Berglund battling all the way until the clock reaches 0-0-0 in this one. But for one of the better additions in free agency for the Alouettes this offseason, he's trying to do everything he can to get the football back for his offense.
Yeah, you think back to that 2020 draft, Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. Calgary had the first pick in the draft. Yeah. This was the guy that they wanted and loved, but knew that they could move down and get him. So they were able to flip that first overall pick to BC, who took Jordan Williams. They moved down and get their guy in Adeyemi Berglund, who I think has lived up to that first-round billing.
Again, Adeyemi Berglund trying to trace down Deontay McMahon, but it'll be Tyrese Beverett and Darnell Sankey as usual. Inside of a minute remaining, 34-18. And asked Tyrese Beverett a couple weeks ago about what was the last time that he had a stretch like this, as they'll send out the field goal unit where he hadn't lost in so long. He said, basically Pop Warner. Do you remember what it feels like to lose? And he basically said, well, when you're on a winning team, you have a winning culture, and you win a Grey Cup, and you start the season hot, and you don't really forget, but you just lean into it, and that's what they've done. So this one, it was never going to be a perfect season. I think we all understand that, but it stings a little bit when it's the Argos. You had a chance to win the season series.
Yeah. Sets up big matchup later in the year.
He's 14 yards away. Hairualu gets out the pitching wedge. It splits the uprights as the Argonauts extend their advantage. Look like they're going to end Montreal's hot start. The Canadian Football League, typically a full circle league when it comes to the history and so much of the background. And the last time that the Montreal Alouettes lost a football game, it was against these Toronto Argonauts. Toronto will do it again to them 300 days apart, as Jason Moss watches on, has taken off the headset for the evening. And we'll see this one be salted away over the next 36 seconds as James Letcher Jr. returns it across the 25 and gets wrapped up right around the 30. As once again, Brandon Calver, Jack Cassar down there on special teams for the Argonauts. But for Moss and the Alouettes, they go into a bye week now. Cody Fajardo, a little bit dinged tonight. Marc-Antoine Dequoy, we'll see what happens with him. And then they welcome the Saskatchewan Roughriders into town coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and obviously taking nothing away from what the Toronto Argonauts have done tonight. Beating the defending Grey Cup champions, a very good football team. The Argos, great recipe, great template for success against Montreal. So taking nothing away from them, but from a Montreal side, this doesn't impact your messaging at all. You consider the people that you mentioned being out of the lineup, Fajardo and Dequoy, essentially your quarterbacks on either side of the field.
They send in Davis Alexander to kneel this one away. And Fajardo looks on. Didn't look to be a major issue, but certainly had to keep him out for the remainder of the ball game, and he'll just need some time to get himself right. A tremendous streak of successive victories comes to a close for the Montreal Alouettes. A valiant effort from the Toronto Argonauts as they come into enemy territory of Percival Molson and get the win.
Yeah, a huge one for the Toronto Argonauts after a couple of tough outings to come on the road and defeat the Canadian Football League's hottest team, and quite frankly a group that had become your nemesis over the course of about the last 10 months. So great matchup, great ball game. I think it sets up the continuation of this rivalry as the season goes on for the Montreal Alouettes. Disappointing to see the streak end, but I think for them also an opportunity with the bye week coming up to regroup, get healthy, and see if they can start another one. As you mentioned, huge matchup against the undefeated Saskatchewan Roughriders coming up in a couple weeks.
Will they still be coming up in a couple of weeks is the question. The Riders taking on the BC Lions on Saturday evening out at BC Place. We'll see whether or not they can turn that one over. But first, it's Friday Night Football coming up. The Stamps and the Bombers will go shot for shot tomorrow in Winnipeg as Cam Dukes, high efficiency, finds the answer. And the Alouette streak is broken by their East Division foes. We'll send you to SportsCenter with Mark Rowe and Jermaine Franklin.
The Alouettes and Argos rivalry has really been renewed over the last couple of seasons, so it's only fitting that Toronto hands the Owls their first loss since last September, and some question marks regarding Cody Fajardo, but you gotta love the way that the Argos travel to Montreal and the way that Cameron Dukes has been playing in this role.
Yeah, Cameron Dukes really stepped up, especially after a rough outing just the week before. But at the same time, they returned the favor to the Alouettes. Alouettes were hoping to win their 14th straight, dating back to last season. Not to be. Alouettes starting to go 6-0 for the first time in 18 years. On the final play of the first quarter, Cody Fajardo rolls to the right, and he gets shoved. Fajardo reaches for his hamstring. The Owls QB left and did not return. Huge loss for Montreal. So Caleb Evans takes over under center. The Owls pin deep in the second quarter.
Right now, if Fajardo doesn't come back, they'll start with a screen. This one's picked up. House call. Winton McManus. Touchdown Argos.
Winton McManus with the pick six, 10-2 Argos. Still in the quarter. Evans takes the hit and finds Charleston Rambo. 22-yard TD. The Owls trying to beat the Argos for the second time in 3 weeks. Montreal driving again before the half. Evans spots Tyson Philpott. Philpott's league-leading 5th touchdown catch of the season. That cuts the lead to 2. But on the ensuing kickoff,
4th in the second half, 17-15. And now tons of running room. Right up the middle of the field. Is anyone going to touch Janarian Grant? Back-to-back weeks into the end zone.
Janarian Grant returns the kick 103 yards. Philpott can only watch from the bench. The Argos up 24-15 at the half. Let's move to the fourth quarter. Toronto up by 9 with 8 minutes to play. Deontay McMahon runs it in from 5 yards out. That extends the lead to 16. The Owls' perfect start to the season in jeopardy. Ensuing Montreal drive. Evans gets picked off by Benji Franklin as the Argos go into Montreal and hand the Alouettes their first loss of the season. The Alouettes' regular season win streak comes to an end at a franchise best 10 games and 13 games, including the playoffs. It's their first loss since September 15th of last year, ironically, against the Boatmen. CFL teams are now 0-3 this season, one coming off a 5-day break. With more, let's go to Cape Burness and Pam.
Alongside Jim Barker, Davis Sanchez, Milt Stiegel, and for the first time in 300 long days, the Montreal Alouettes officially record a loss. A heck of a run by the team, by the way, but to add salt on the wound, Milt, the biggest obviously storyline of this story is the health of Cody Fajardo. We knew that they were on a short week, and that was a problem for a lot of people going into this one. But then when he pulled up with the hamstring injury, it's just not what you want to see when you have a starting quarterback that's playing so well like Cody.
Yeah, and they're sad that they lost the game, but now they're concerned because they don't know how long they've lost their starting quarterback, their MOP quarterback, a big reason why they were able to go on that long winning streak. So you're kind of happy that it's a hamstring injury because you know that's going to heal eventually. And that may be 2 or 3 weeks. They have a bye week coming up. It's not a knee, it's not a shoulder. But still, you want your quarterback to be as healthy as possible because they know, just like just about every other team. Your backup quarterback is just not going to get it done. They're a backup quarterback for a reason. So let's hope, not only for Montreal concerned, but just for the league overall, that he's back sooner than later, because he's a very important part of this league and of this team.
Yeah, and we're not going to see a run like that probably for a long time, what Montreal just did. So, tip of the cap for what they've done. And when I look at Toronto, that's a great win for this Argos team. And especially when you think about Jake Seresta's not in there tonight. That might be their best guy, their best D lineman. I mean, you look. Okay, well, that's why I said might be. Oh, yeah, and Flo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Flo out there as well. So this is a big win for this Argos team. You have your backup quarterback, Jim. And what did you mention during the game? We haven't talked a lot about it because we're trying to, really focus on who's on the field. But it is what it is. Chad Kelly is coming back real soon, and this Argos team just beat the Owls with the backup quarterback, without the MOP, and we're talking about, a pretty good defense and a young defense only getting better. So this Argos team, impressive.
It was a very impressive win, and it's huge in the standings because they don't play again till week 17, and at that time, this game will determine which one actually, if they end up tied, whoever wins that game, good point. It comes down to a huge game. So this was a big win for them. For Cody Fajardo, if he needs some motivation, they come out of the bye, and guess who they play? The Saskatchewan Roughriders. You don't think he'll want to be ready for that one?
You know that.
So again, it was a great win for the Argos to be able to win this game with their backup quarterback. They did it with a great run game and put him in positions to be successful. He didn't turn the ball over.
Nope.
It was just an outstanding effort.
He had a clean game, and you got something out of special teams. You got something out of the defense. It was the perfect combination now for the Toronto Argonauts. And Ryan Dinwiddie's streak stays intact. He has never lost 3 in a row as we send it back to SportsCenter.
Thanks, guys. New on SC, Al's head coach, Jason Moss.
The game plan has to change. I'm guessing what's going on right now. No, game plan never changes. Our quarterbacks know how to call the game. They're ready to play at a moment's notice. We just didn't do enough tonight to win this ball game. Plain and simple. All 3 phases, we didn't do enough. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and tonight just wasn't good enough. We'll regroup, though, and we'll come back. Yeah. I know obviously you're not going to use the short week as an excuse or as a reason for the loss, but, playing 2 games in 5 days, players were just dropping like flies. You saw that, didn't you? Yeah. That's all I'll say about it. It's pretty noticeable, but, at the end of the day, we're professionals. We've got jobs to do, and we knew the schedule, and we had to play on 5 days. We did it, and we didn't come up with big enough plays to win the game, and that's all that matters. We got to learn from this and regroup, and that's what we plan on doing. Is it too early to tell if Cody will be available? It's way too early. We don't know who's available to us right now based on this game. We'll find out tomorrow. More details. We have a bye to get through, and then we'll be better coming off of it. Thank you, Chase. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And new on SC, Cameron Dukes.
Well, Cameron, it's 300 days to date since the Alouettes last lost, and it was against the Argonauts. It was you tonight that got the job done, bouncing back from that 2-game skid. Just how significant is this win for you?
Well, it wasn't just me. This is a complete team win. You've seen it in all phases of the game. We wanted this bad. We were hungry. But for me, this is huge. Go 1-0 after 2 games that we had, and everybody doubted me, and I love it. So,
ground game continues to be effective. How reliant was that for your game plan here tonight?
Yeah, it's huge for us. Our offensive line just absolutely dominates up front, and they have holes that are huge for our running backs, and for me when I got to get loose too. So, being able to run the ball opens up passing lanes for us as well. It's a really big part of our game.
Darian Grant, a huge back-to-back kick return touchdowns. Just what was going through your mind when you saw him run that ball?
Nothing but pure joy for him. He's such a great guy, such great energy all the time, positive energy all the time. And 2 plays before that on offense, he's sitting there talking to himself in the huddle saying he's got to get in the end zone, and he comes out and does that. It's just belief in everybody in the locker room, and we all got belief in ourselves too. So for him to do that, Mickey's just a great special teams coach, and everybody just coming together. It's just a team effort.
I guess this last question for you here. What will your team take from this win?
Just confidence. We needed this win. We needed the confidence boost that we got today. Just showing that all phases of the game matter and that we did it together.
Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And here's what the rest of Week 6 looks like in the CFL with odds courtesy of FanDuel. The Bombers will host the Stampeders on Friday with the total at 47.5. Winnipeg is 5-0 to the under so far this season. And the top two teams in the West Division clash in the Lions taking on the Rough Riders on Saturday. BC is favored by 7.5, and the Elks are still looking for the first win. They'll be favored for the first time this season when they host the Red Blacks on Sunday. New on SC, as quarterback Caleb Evans.
Obviously, you had to come in a game before, but how tough was it? How tough is it to have to come in early on, in the game when you're expecting, to just handle the short yardage duties?
I mean, that's a game you play. You gotta be ready for the unexpected. How hard it sounds, but that's what you got to do, especially as a backup quarterback. So, just got to get my feet comfortable and get in the rhythm, and then keep going from there.
Yeah. I mean, you made a nice throw to Rambo for the touchdown, but offensively, was it tough to get into a groove, since you don't get that many reps, with the guys?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a little tough to get in the groove with limited reps, but that's my job as a professional. So I got to be ready at moment's notice, and so we got a bye week coming up. Flush it out the system and come back ready, get locked in, and prepare as if I'm going to be the guy.
All right, thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, let's hear from Al's wide receiver, Tyson Philpott.
All right, Tyson, first loss of the season.
Yeah. Obviously not the result we wanted. We didn't play element football tonight. We're aware of that. Obviously, losing a guy like Cody is so beneficial to the team. Kalen, Julian Grant being a little banged up too. But, just glad we have a bye week. Go get healthy, watch the film, and see what we can correct.
Yeah, how tough was it? I know obviously those short weeks are part of the CFL schedule.
Yeah.
But how tough was it? Because just looking for the outside, players were just dropping like flies.
Yeah, obviously, one day of practice, I don't know how you play football on that, but, I don't make those calls. We know what we have to do week in, week out. No excuses, just got to handle business.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
New on SC at 242 total return yards for the Argos, Janarian Grant.
Well, Janarian, back-to-back kick returns for a touchdown. So between the last one and this one, do you have a favorite?
I love it all, man. I just can't thank my guys more for allowing me to get there. I appreciate them. It's all about them, As long as I put my team in the best field position, we're great.
102 yards. So at what point in that run here tonight did you know, okay, I got this?
I just looked at my teammates. We always ready. We came out there, seen some holes. They was blocking great for me. I just had to hit it with speed.
Look at Cameron Dukes tonight talking about the confidence this win will give your group. Just what did you see from the quarterback here tonight?
Just endurance, durability, you feel me? Just being great. One play at a time, not forcing anything, just taking what we can get. And that's what we need to do, just play Argos football.
Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Wynton McManus had the pick six in the second quarter, and he's now new on SC.
Well, Wynton, you guys able to snap that win streak for the Alouettes here. Just what will you take from this win?
Just as a team, let's build on this. Let's not get too high. Let's not get too low. We got a long season, but this is a great something good to build off of.
Your team able to score in all three phases. Just what does that say about your depth?
It says we put a lot of work in. It shows the heart and grind of this team. We're starting to find our identity, and we're starting to become a problem for a lot of teams.
Looking ahead to next week, just how excited are you to maybe regroup and get back to work and carry this momentum ahead?
We're so excited. This team here, this team loves to practice. This team loves to work. This team loves to grind. And, it's beautiful. And it starts to show on the field, and it's a long season, and we know that, so we're prepared for it.
Enjoy the win.
Thank you. Appreciate it.